Chapter 2360. Crack. Even though the demonic realm's passageway was extremely sturdy, it was still shattered by the collision of the time compass, an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. What? Taiyuan's eyes flashed. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to break the boundary of the mortal world so quickly and break the demonic world passage. The demonic world passage was broken, revealing a vast and dazzling starry sky. In front of Ling Xiao was an ancient and vast world. It was like a huge ball in the middle of chaos, swallowing and spitting out vast amounts of chaotic energy. It was getting more and more boundless and vast. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He immediately understood that the world in front of him was the demonic world. Although he broke the demonic world passage and didn't enter the demonic world directly, he still came to the edge of the demonic world. Jinsei, do you remember who I am? Are you being controlled by the demonic race? Ling Xiao looked at Jinsei and asked anxiously. He didn't care about Taiyuan at all. Although Taiyuan was a saint ruler expert, he had the wordless heavenly book and the time compass to protect him. Ling Xiao didn't take Taiyuan seriously. He was anxious to know what had happened to Jinsei. Of course she knows who you are, Ling Xiao. But she's my disciple now. Everything she does is naturally loyal to me. A crisp voice rang out in the void. Ling Xiao abruptly raised his head and saw resplendent starlight converging in the distance. It was overflowing with light and color, gorgeous and dazzling. A little girl dressed in red slowly walked over from the depths of the starry sky. She looked like she was carved from jade, ethereal and mysterious. However, her body exuded endless emotions and desires. It even turned into a physical world. Countless creatures worshipped her and manifested all kinds of scenes. Although she looked like a little girl, her expression was indifferent, and she had a peerless aura that looked down on the world. Greetings, Supreme One. Greetings, Supreme One. Jinsei and Taiyuan bowed respectfully when they saw the little girl in red. Who are you? Are you the one who controlled Jinsei? Ling Xiao's eyes were as sharp as blades as he glanced at the little girl in red walking toward him. For some reason, Ling Xiao felt a lethal threat from the girl. It was thousands of times more powerful than a saint ruler like Taiyuan. His heart was instantly on high alert. I am Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. I didn't control Jinsei. I only imparted the Tao of 7 emotions and 6 desires to her. Why would a good seedling like her cultivate the Tao of great oblivion? What a waste of resources. The little girl in red smiled faintly. Her eyes moved and swept across Ling Xiao's body, revealing a myriad of emotions. It was as if countless auras had gathered on her body, causing Ling Xiao to feel a little lost in that instant. Suddenly, Ling Xiao felt a fatal threat in his heart. Crack. The little girl in red immediately attacked Ling Xiao. Her small, jade-like hand floated lightly towards Ling Xiao's chest. In that instant, Ling Xiao actually felt as if his body had been imprisoned. Even his thoughts had stopped. He could only watch as the palm came towards him. Rumble. The wordless heavenly book and time compass felt that Ling Xiao was in danger, and exploded with their strongest power, wanting to break free from the power that imprisoned Ling Xiao. However, before that power could be completely extinguished, the little girl's palm landed on Ling Xiao's chest. Boom. Ling Xiao felt as though he had been struck by an immemorial mountain. He felt an unparalleled divine power surging into his body. It was like an endless wave, multiplying by thousands, tens of thousands of times. In an instant, a huge bloody hole appeared in his chest. Ling Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly became extremely pale as he was sent flying. In the face of the little girl's palm, he actually didn't have the slightest ability to resist. He didn't even have time to use the wordless heavenly book and time compass. Moreover, Ling Xiao felt a strange power spread out from his chest. Although his physical body was unparalleled and his life force was abundant, he could be reborn from a single drop of blood. He almost had an immortal body, but it was useless against the little girl's power. Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires? You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Ling Xiao snorted coldly, his eyes revealing a hint of madness. Roar. A vast dragon's roar resounded from his body, causing the surrounding starry sky to vibrate violently. The stars were dazzling, as if they had established a strange connection with the acupoints all over Ling Xiao's body. The vast power of the stars surged into his body and rapidly healed his injuries. The wordless heavenly book and time compass were instantly activated by Ling Xiao with their strongest power. They floated in the starry river, ready to launch a thunderous attack on the little girl at any time. Ling Xiao could feel the terror of Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. Even with an extreme Dao Emperor weapon, he couldn't make up for it. The gap between their realms was just too big. Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires was already standing at the extreme of the divine path. She was only half a step away from the legendary Imperial Emperor. Ling Xiao was a few realms away from her. Therefore, Ling Xiao was ready to risk his life. Even if he died, he would drag Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires down with him. Kill you? If I wanted to kill you, you would have died just now. Do you really think that an extreme Dao Emperor weapon can make up for the gap between you and me? Do you think a child with an axe in his hand can beat a strong man with his bare hands? How childish. The little girl in red smiled faintly, with a hint of mockery in her eyes. Her gaze fell on Jin Se, and she said faintly, "Jin Se, kill him." Ling Zhao's heart trembled, and his gaze instantly fell on Jin Se. Jin Se's expression was calm. After hearing the little girl in red's words, she didn't seem to hesitate at all. Instead, she nodded and said, "Yes, my lord. But my lord, I'm no match for her. I can't kill her." Jin Se's voice was incomparably cold, filled with an unimaginable calmness. Speaking of which, Jin Se was still only a sage to be. She had yet to become a sage. Even a sage king couldn't kill Ling Xiao. Naturally, she was no match for Ling Xiao. With Taiyuan's help, I'll help you block his wordless heavenly book and time compass. I'll also lend you the sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. If you still can't kill him, then you can die. The little girl in red said faintly. Her voice was filled with ruthlessness. Whoosh! An ancient sword that flowed with 7-colored radiance suddenly flew out from the little girl in red's body. It exuded a vast aura of the mortal world, as if it could evoke the deepest desires in one's heart. It was extremely strange. This was the little girl in red's natal treasure, the sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, which was comparable to a boundary emperor weapon. Although the sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires was not an extreme Dao Emperor weapon, to a certain extent, its lethality wasn't any weaker than an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Even Ling Xiao could feel the danger of the sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. "Yes, my lord. Jin Se won't let you down." Chapter 2361. My lord, this is killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Taiyuan thought to himself with a chill in his heart. Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires knew about the emotional entanglement between Jin Se and Ling Xiao. If Jin Se killed Ling Xiao, not only would the path of great oblivion be perfected instantly, but it would also nourish the path of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, allowing Jin Se to become a saint. Only when Jin Se became a saint could she be considered a good cauldron for Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. At that time, she might be able to break through to the supreme realm in one fell swoop. Moreover, Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires was cautious by nature, and did not know what trump cards Ling Xiao had. It was a good opportunity for Jin Se and Taiyuan to test Ling Xiao. If they could kill Ling Xiao completely, Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires would be able to obtain the wordless heavenly book and eliminate a major threat for the devil race. Taiyuan did not expect Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires to let Jin Se kill Ling Xiao. However, after he understood Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires' intention, he became even more fearful. Boom! Jin Se held the sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. Her eyes were filled with cold murderous intent, and the aura around her began to soar. The sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires bloomed with dazzling light, and the 7-colored divine light poured into Jin Se's body. An illusory image of a Taiji diagram appeared above Jin Se's head, spinning slowly. Jin Se's cultivation instantly broke through to the saint realm, and it continued to break through. The early stage of the saint realm, the middle stage of the saint realm, the late stage of the saint realm, the supreme saint realm. The sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires was Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires' natal treasure. It contained vast power, as if it was a part of Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires' body. It contained part of his cultivation. At this moment, that part of cultivation merged into Jinsei's body, causing her strength to soar until it reached the peak of the Supreme Saint realm. Jinsei, do you really not recognize me? Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with sorrow, especially the determination and murderous intent in Jinsei's eyes, which made his heart ache even more. Kill. Jinsei's response was only one word. In an instant, the heavens and earth cracked, and the winds and clouds. A peerless sword chi that could sweep through the 9 heavens, and 10 earths swept across the sky. Jinsei held the 7 emotions 6 desires sword in her hand. The sword chi around her was sharp and her red dress fluttered like a burning flame. Her eyes were filled with determination. Wang. The time compass in Ling Zhao's hand soared into the sky, sprinkling down streams of time energy. Like a translucent, ancient world, it distorted space and blocked in front of Ling Zhao. Jinsei, I don't want to fight you. Why are you forcing me? Ling Zhao's face was filled with pain. Boom. The vast sword chi fell, and collided with the multicolored ancient world in front of Ling Zhao. Resplendent divine light erupted, like an endless wave exploding, causing waves to fill the sky. The sword chi and the modeled ancient world were destroyed at the same time. The sword of 7 emotions and 6 desires struck the compass of time as well, but it was repelled by the distorted spacetime. Ling Zhao and Jinsei's figures clashed in the starry sky. Ling Zhao could see the cold killing intent in Jinsei's eyes. It was as if it was imprinted in her soul, and carved into her bones. That was a kind of determination to fight to the death. Whoosh. At this moment, Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires struck. Her red robes fluttered as she soared into the air. Strands of silk interweaved from her sleeves, containing 7 colored light. They exuded all sorts of mysterious emotions and desires. Vaguely, a vast world appeared. The power of will of billions of living beings interweaved, containing a supreme power. Those threads intertwined to form a huge divine chain of order. In an instant, it traversed the void, pierced through layers of space-time, and wrapped around the time compass. Rumble. The time compass emitted resplendent light, and the vast power of time rose, trying to break the divine chain of order. However, to Ling Zhao's surprise, the divine chain of order was incomparably sturdy. With the power of will of billions of living beings supporting it, the time compass was unable to break through the seal. Just as she had said, Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires blocked Ling Zhao's time compass for Jinsei. You don't know the Supreme Emperor Dao, so naturally, you can't unleash the power of the Supreme Emperor weapon. It's a waste for the Supreme Emperor weapon of the Flowing Time Emperor to fall into your hands. Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires said coldly. Rumble. At the same time, Tai Yuan also attacked. He was a supreme expert in the Saint King realm, and his attacks contained the power of the great Dao. It was as if an ancient emperor had descended, and a casual attack could shatter a supreme star. Tai Yuan's attack posed a great threat to Ling Zhao. Since the time compass was trapped by Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires, Ling Zhao did not dare to use the wordless heavenly book. He could only use the wordless heavenly book as a source of energy to activate the power of the wordless heavenly book. He used the power of the wordless heavenly book to fight against the enemy. Rumble. Ling Zhao's fighting spirit sword. The heaven battling secret skill gave Ling Zhao the ultimate fighting instinct. His attacks were as fast as lightning, and he could instantly penetrate the enemy's flaws. At the same time, Ling Zhao activated the primal chaos secret skill, and used the Heavenly Emperor Fist. The vast Heavenly Emperor Fist seemed to be able to encompass everything, and every attack contained the supreme power of destruction. With the support of the wordless heavenly book, Ling Zhao's strength began to skyrocket. Crack! Ling Zhao's fist collided with the sword of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Dazzling sparks erupted, an endless sword chi exploded. Ling Zhao's fist contained unparalleled physical strength. He had opened his divine treasures and his physical body had reached the saint realm, so his every move contained unfathomable heavenly might. The vast power passed into the sword of 7 emotions and 6 desires, and then it knocked Jinsei back. Bang! Ling Zhao and Tai Yuan collided. Saint aura surged around Tai Yuan, and a yin and yang vortex seemed to be contained in his palm. It was like a vast world of yin and yang that wanted to swallow Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao neutralized it with the secret skill of yin and yang, broke through Tai Yuan's palm and flew out. Both Tai Yuan and Jin Sei's strength was incomparably terrifying. Needless to say, Tai Yuan was a supreme expert in the Saint King realm. Although he was only an ordinary Saint King, he had mastered the Great Tao and condensed the Saint King Tao fruit. A casual attack from him forced Ling Xiao to use his full strength. Jin Sei's strength exceeded Ling Xiao's expectations. Originally, Jin Sei's cultivation was only in the half-saint realm. However, after obtaining the Sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires and temporarily fusing with the cultivation left behind by Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, her strength skyrocketed to the peak of the Great Saint realm. In addition, the Sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, a quasi-emperor weapon, posed a greater threat to Ling Xiao than Tai Yuan. Streaks of sword chi fell as fast as lightning, sealing off the surrounding void, making it impossible for Ling Xiao to dodge. Under the combined attacks of Tai Yuan and Jin Sei, Ling Xiao quickly fell into a disadvantage. Chapter 2363. Jin Sei, I'm Ling Xiao. Have you really forgotten me? Do you remember Gemini Mountain, Changsun Sect, and War God's Field? Do you remember that you waited for me for 10,000 years? Ling Xiao yelled at the top of his lungs as he fought, trying to recall Jin Sei's memories. Ling Xiao didn't even notice that his face was covered in tears. Every time Jin Sei attacked, his heart would hurt a little. His battle with Jin Sei was unavoidably affected. Swoosh! A swift and fierce sword light descended, flickering with a 7-colored radiance. Ling Xiao was unable to dodge in time, and a wound over a foot long was left on his chest, almost slicing him into 2 halves. Moreover, the sword chi of the 7 Emotions 6 Desires sword rose, emitting a light that could destroy heaven and earth. The power of the mortal world tried to enter Ling Xiao's body through the wound and destroy his vitality. Puff! The sharp sword chi injured Ling Xiao's organs. He could not help but tremble violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura became weak. Tai Yuan took the opportunity to hit Ling Xiao's back with his palm. Unparalleled divine power erupted from his palm print. Even though Ling Xiao's body was extremely strong, it could not withstand Tai Yuan's palm and collapsed. His flesh and bones seemed to have been turned into meat paste. Ling Xiao was sent flying once again. He was completely at a disadvantage and seemed to be in imminent danger. It was as if he would die at the hands of Jin Sei and Tai Yuan at any time. Jin Sei's eyes were still as cold as ice, filled with endless killing intent. She raised the Sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires again, and displayed a sharp swordsmanship towards Ling Xiao. Buzz! The time compass vibrated in the void, as if it wanted to go back to rescue Ling Xiao. However, it was firmly sealed by Lord 7 Emotions 6 Desires divine chains of order, and could not return to Ling Xiao's side. The Chosen One? With your heavenly path fate, I'm afraid you can let Jin Sei become a saint and even condense that kind of Tao fruit? I'm really looking forward to it. Lord 7 Emotions 6 Desires' eyes revealed a hint of anticipation as he muttered to himself. Everything was under her control. She could see that Ling Xiao was now an arrow at the end of its flight, and would probably die at the hands of Jin Sei and Tai Yuan at any time. Boom! Tai Yuan's palm slammed into Ling Xiao. Jin Sei's sword chi also tore through the chaos and pierced Ling Xiao's body. In an instant, Ling Xiao's body was covered in dense cracks like a spider web. Ling Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood, which landed on Jin Sei's face and red dress. It made her dress even brighter, as if it was about to burst into flames. Ling Xiao had suffered an unimaginable injury, and his aura had become extremely weak. The Chosen One is nothing more than this. Ling Xiao, prepare to die. Tai Yuan's eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent. Holy light rose around him like the vast starry sky. It all gathered in his palm, forming a beam of light that could destroy everything. It shot through the air and blasted toward Ling Xiao. Although Tai Yuan knew that Heavenly Venerate 7 Emotions and 6 Desires wanted Jin Sei to kill Ling Xiao, he couldn't resist the temptation of Ling Xiao's Heavenly Tao Providence. As long as he killed Ling Xiao, he would be able to obtain Ling Xiao's Heavenly Tao Providence. His cultivation that had been stagnant for a long time would surely improve, and he might be able to fight heavenly venerate 7 emotions and 6 desires. This was a temptation that Taiyuan couldn't resist. In Taiyuan's view, Ling Xiao was now an arrow at the end of its flight. There was no way Ling Xiao could block his killing blow. His death was certain. Just as Ling Xiao was about to die at Taiyuan's hands, something unexpected happened. Swoosh! An ancient sword silently pierced Taiyuan's body, and a vast amount of sword qi erupted from it, constantly destroying Taiyuan's vitality. You! How dare you! Taiyuan trembled, his eyes filled with disbelief as he slowly turned his head. Behind him, Jinsei stabbed Taiyuan's body with the 7 emotions and 6 desire sword. Jinsei's expression was calm and unruffled. Taiyuan had never imagined that Jinsei would stab him in the back, just as he was about to kill Ling Xiao, dealing him a fatal blow. Rumble. Ling Xiao's aura changed drastically in front of Taiyuan's eyes. He no longer looked weak, and his body brimmed with boundless strength. He punched out, and vast chaos light and lightning exploded. It was as if an ancient celestial emperor had swept through the heavens, unstoppable. Blood splattered everywhere as Ling Xiao's fist punched a hole through Taiyuan's chest. Ling Xiao seemed to have anticipated this. The wordless heavenly tome entered Taiyuan's body through his arm, and began madly devouring his flesh and life origin. You all deserve to die. Supreme Lord, save me! Taiyuan roared, his eyes filled with incomparable madness. His vast life origin began to burn as he tried to break free from Ling Xiao and Jinsei. However, Ling Xiao and Jinsei seemed to have discussed this beforehand. The sword of 7 emotions and 6 desires unleashed a supreme sword qi that destroyed all of Taiyuan's meridians. In addition to Ling Xiao's punch, Taiyuan's body exploded. Taiyuan's flesh and blood wriggled violently in the void, trying to reform a new body. However, the wordless heavenly tome suppressed him, and began to devour Taiyuan's strength. If Taiyuan were a human saint king, he might be able to hold on for a moment, or even break free from the wordless heavenly tome's devouring. After all, the book was still damaged. However, Taiyuan had long given up his human bloodline, and become a demon. The wordless heavenly tome seemed to be a natural counter to demon experts. After suffering such heavy injuries, Taiyuan had no way of breaking free from the book's restraint. How dare you, Jinsei! Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires was also stunned, then enraged. She couldn't understand why Jinsei, who was firmly under her control, would betray her and severely injure her most capable subordinate, Taiyuan. However, she didn't have the time to think. She shot across the sky like a beam of red light at extreme speed. The starry sky trembled at the same time, bursting with unparalleled divine might in an attempt to save Taiyuan. Rumble. At this moment, the chronological compass in the void suddenly shone brightly. The vast power of time flowed, ethereal and mysterious. A vast river of time vaguely appeared and directly shattered the divine chains of order in the void. Chapter 2364. Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires did not expect that Ling Xiao had completely refined the time compass, and was able to awaken the extreme Tao Emperor aura within the time compass to unleash terrifying power. Ling Xiao softly chanted, and his body exuded a vast power of the origin of time. The compass of time floated above the starry sky, exuding an eternal light. Even Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires' expression changed involuntarily. Boom. Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires' crimson divine light rose around her. She waved her sleeve, and suddenly, it was as if there was a flame burning. It turned into a huge palm print surrounded by 7-colored light, and collided with the time compass with a loud bang. Crack. Divine light bloomed in the void, and the starry sky shook. The huge palm print was directly shattered by the time compass. Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires' strength was extremely terrifying. Although the time compass was an extreme Tao Emperor weapon, it was still sent flying by her. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the textless heavenly book released terrifying power, and directly swallowed Taiyuan's flesh and blood, turning them into nourishment for the textless heavenly book. He was completely annihilated. Part of his life essence and energy merged into Ling Xiao's body, causing his injuries to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant he was restored to his peak state. However, Tai Yuan, an invincible sage king, was extremely aggrieved as he silently died in the textless heavenly book. Jinsei, how dare you betray me? Celestial Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires' eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he stared at Jinsei. Betray? My lord, I have never sought refuge with you. How can I betray you? Jinsei said indifferently. Impossible. You have already accepted my inheritance of the path of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Your mind and primordial spirit are all under my control. How can you break free from my control? Even my sword of 7 emotions and 6 desires has been cut off by you. What a great technique. Celestial Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires said coldly. She couldn't figure out why this happened. Jinsei was clearly under her control, and everything was under her control. Even life and death were in her hands. That was why she allowed Jinsei to kill Ling Xiao. However, she couldn't figure out how Jinsei escaped her control. In particular, the Sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires was Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires' life treasure. It was connected to her heart's blood, but the connection had been silently severed by Jinsei. Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, your path of 7 emotions and 6 desires is indeed extraordinary, but it can't be separated from the category of yin-yang secret skills. Jinsei said indifferently. There seemed to be mysterious runes flashing in her eyes, and a mysterious yin and yang taijutsu appeared vaguely. This is the yin-yang taijutsu. Damn it. Jinsei, you've really hidden yourself well. I didn't think that the Supreme Tao Palace would even pass on the yin-yang taijutsu to you. Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires shuddered. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. She finally figured it out. It turned out that Jinsei had the Supreme Tao Emperor weapon of the Supreme Tao Palace, the yin-yang taijutsu. That was how she was able to conceal herself, and even cut off the connection with her Sword of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. Rumble. However, before Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires could say anything, Jinsei slammed her palm across the sky. The mighty divine light spread for tens of thousands of miles. A huge yin and yang taijutsu flew out from her palm. It covered the sky and the sun, suppressing Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. Ling Xiao also took out the time compass. It was so mighty that it seemed to be able to turn the heavens. The mysterious power of time distorted time and space, forming a time domain that enveloped Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. The 2 Supreme Tao Emperor weapons attacked at the same time. They exploded with their strongest power, wanting to kill Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires on the spot. Jinsei, let's end this quickly. We're very close to the Devil Realm. We can't rule out the possibility that there will be powerful figures from the Devil Clan coming to help. We can't stay here for long. Ling Xiao secretly transmitted his voice to Jinsei. However, he was extremely happy in his heart. Everything was just as he had expected. Jinsei's battle with him was just a pretense. Her purpose was to confuse Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, so that she could unleash a killing blow and kill Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Wing, Taiyuan Sage King. Ling Xiao was very pleased and happy. It was as if he and Jinsei had a telepathic connection. Their cooperation was perfect. Rumble. Rumble. Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires displayed a peerless combat prowess that shocked both Ling Xiao and Jinsei. Every move of his contained the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. He battled the time compass and the yin-yang tai chi diagram in the sky, erupting with divine light that shot up into the sky. Buzz. At this moment, Jinsei stood in the air. The aura around her became extremely ethereal. Her entire body seemed to be exuding 2 types of incomparably mysterious Tao. One was ethereal like a celestial demon above the 9 heavens. The other contained all kinds of emotions and desires, tainted with all kinds of worldly aura. Those were the aura fluctuations of the path of great oblivion, and the path of 7 emotions and 6 desires. At this moment, a strange balance seemed to have formed on Jinsei's body. They began to merge slowly. The path of great oblivion. How is this possible? Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires felt the aura on Jinsei's body. He could not help but tremble. A look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. The path of great oblivion was the foundation of the path of great oblivion. However, if one could turn oblivion into emotion, it meant that one had understood the true meaning of the great path. They had completely merged the two great oblivion and climbed to the peak of the divine path. However, Jinsei was now only in the sage-to-be realm. She was not even a sage. How could she have comprehended the path of great oblivion? This simply subverted Lord of Seven Emotions and Six Desires understanding. The path of great oblivion? Jinsei. Is she going to recover her memory? Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was overjoyed. His eyes were filled with excitement. He remembered what the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had once said. Jinsei had lost all her memories because she had consumed the path of great oblivion. If she wanted to recover her memories, she had to cultivate the path of great oblivion to the extreme. She had to turn oblivion into emotion. Only then could she be true and pure and recover all her past memories. Ling Xiao also quickly understood. The path of seven emotions and six desires of Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires was probably a catalyst that allowed Jinsei to fuse two kinds of path wills and cultivate the path of the great oblivion to its peak in one fell swoop, transforming the path of the great oblivion into the path of emotions. For Jinsei, this was definitely a supreme fortune. Rumble. At the same time, blazing divine light rose from Jinsei's body. Thunder rumbled in the vast starry sky. Heaven and earth rumbled. An incomparably terrifying sage aura spread. It was as if heaven's punishment was about to destroy the world. The scene was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao's body trembled. He immediately understood that Jinsei was about to cross the sage tribulation. The path of great oblivion? Aha. What a joke. Do you think it's so easy to take my things? Since you betrayed me, then pay with your life. Chapter 2365. Gotcha. Jinsei was already enveloped by the thunderbolts. Streaks of lightning danced like dragons and snakes. All kinds of mysterious scenes appeared between heaven and earth. An ancient yin-yang tai chi diagram even appeared above Jinsei's head. That illusory figure was formed purely by the lightning tribulation. It contained boundless killing intent, as if it could destroy everything. Looking at Heavenly Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires, who was charging towards him, Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of madness. He could not let Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires interfere with Jinsei's breakthrough. This was related to whether Jinsei could regain her past memories. Ling Xiao would not allow anyone to destroy it. For this he would pay any price. Kaboom! The pores all over Ling Xiao's body spewed out golden blood-red light, as they burst into flames. Almost instantly, Ling Xiao had burned away 1,000,000 years of his lifespan. Even his flesh and yuan spirit were glowing, pushed to the limit by him. The wordless heavenly book was like a bright sun in Ling Xiao's body. It bloomed with incomparably brilliant light, and provided Ling Xiao with an endless supply of energy. Ling Xiao's left hand held the Heavenly Emperor's fist seal, and his right hand held the time compass. His fighting spirit soared into the sky. 12 ancient and mysterious worlds appeared behind him as he charged toward Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires. Ling Xiao began to fight with all his might. Boom! Ling Xiao and Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires collided. It was like a hurricane sweeping across the sky. In an instant, an extremely terrifying fluctuation of divine light erupted. Ling Xiao was not surprised at all. He was directly blasted away. His arm was cracked and badly mangled. His arm trembled violently. He could not help but cough up large mouthfuls of blood. His aura was weak. However, his eyes became brighter and brighter. His entire body exuded a kind of crazy temperament. Jinsei was right behind him. He would not let Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires take a step forward. Although he knew that there was a huge gap between him and Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires, it was like the difference between an ant and a divine dragon. However, Ling Xiao still did not admit defeat. He still erupted with his strongest power to stop Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires. Ling Xiao, you're courting death. Lord Seven Emotions and Six Desires was also angered by Ling Xiao. In his opinion, while Ling Xiao was the chosen one, he was no different from an ant. If it weren't for the wordless heavenly scripture and time compass on Ling Xiao, he probably would have been able to crush Ling Xiao to death with a wave of his hand. Now this ant dared to provoke a divine dragon. Boom. Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires slammed his palm across the sky, breaking through layers of spacetime and colliding with Ling Xiao. Then it slammed into his chest. Ling Xiao's chest caved in directly. His bones were shattered, and his flesh was badly mangled. He was sent flying again. The 12 ancient worlds on his body were trembling violently, as if they were about to collapse at any moment. If it wasn't for the wordless heavenly book and time compass defense, this palm strike would have directly split Ling Xiao's body into pieces. What was a celestial venerable? The heavenly venerable was the pinnacle of the Saint Dao, the strongest being below the Emperor realm. Although many people knew that the Saint King realm was the pinnacle of the Saint Path, there were also different levels among the Saint Kings. The gap between them was like the gap between heaven and earth. Ordinary Saint Kings, Peak Saint Kings, Supreme Saint Kings, Heavenly Venerables. These were the 4 major levels of the Saint King realm. The gap between each level was huge, not to mention that Ling Xiao was only in the Saint realm. The gap between him and a Heavenly Venerable was too great. Although Taiyuan, All-Seer Zizhu, and the other Saint King old ancestors were completely killed in this battle, and caused a commotion in the realm of the gods, they were only ordinary Saint Kings. When a Heavenly Venerable was angry, the heavens shook, the world was destroyed, and all living beings were bathed in blood. Rumble. The wordless heavenly book provided Ling Xiao with an endless source of life. His sanctification body gave Ling Xiao an incomparably terrifying recovery ability. The time compass could distort time and space. To a certain extent, it could weaken the attacks of Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, and provide a powerful defense. With so many treasures on him, Ling Xiao was barely able to hold on. However, he was already in imminent danger. Puff! Ling Xiao's mouth was constantly spewing blood. His physical body was like a rag as he was blasted away by Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. However, Ling Xiao seemed like he would never die. He kept struggling and blocking in front of Jin Sei. The void was filled with a strong smell of blood. This battle was extremely tragic. But what surprised Ling Xiao was that Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires had set up a powerful barrier around the area, perhaps because he wanted to keep the wordless heavenly book for himself. As a result, no demon almighties appeared. Otherwise, such an intense battle would have attracted the attention of the demon realm's almighties. As for Jin Sei, she sat cross-legged under the starry sky, undergoing the divine tribulation. Her entire body was in an extremely strange state. It was as if she had fallen into a tortoise's suction. Her breathing was stable and pure. Vast amounts of lightning fell from the surroundings, but they were all absorbed by her. In Jin Sei's body, it was as if the great Tao of Yin and Yang was slowly rotating, constantly devouring all external forces. Those lightning bolts did not seem to be Jin Sei's divine tribulation. Instead, they seemed to be the energy that helped Jin Sei break through to the next realm. Gradually, the illusory aura on Jin Sei's body began to disappear. Her entire body became more and more real, as if she was a person of flesh and blood. All kinds of emotions and desires, as well as all kinds of emotions of the mortal world, also slowly disappeared. Jin Sei's entire body became incomparably pure. She was wrapped in a ball of soft light, and the corners of her mouth held a faint smile. It was as if she was having a beautiful dream. Her smile was light and filled with a beautiful aura, and the divine tribulation was nearing its end. Ling Xiao, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires was completely enraged by Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. A vast aura of the mortal world emerged from her body. In an instant, it turned into a divine chain of order, traversing the void and binding Ling Xiao's entire body. Then, she slapped her palm toward Ling Xiao's head. Runes flashed in her palm, and a mysterious flame rose, as if it could burn everything. This attack was extremely fierce. It contained the fury of Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. She wanted to completely kill Ling Xiao. Boom! The time compass was directly blasted away by Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Crack! The 12 ancient worlds behind Ling Xiao shattered with a loud bang. Bang! Ling Xiao's physical body began to crack. Dense cracks appeared like a spiderweb. Moreover, his glabella seemed to have begun to burn. The burning fire of the mortal world appeared on the divine chain of order, enveloping Ling Xiao's entire body. Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, the person who is going to die is not me, but you. Ling Xiao suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was calm and deep, without the slightest trace of fear. But his voice was like thunder, causing Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires to involuntarily tremble. Chapter 2366. Rumble. The time compass emitted a bright and eternal light, like an eternal sun hanging high in the vast void, instantly illuminating the endless darkness and the starry sky. A huge finger flew out from the time compass, containing a vast emperor's might. It was as if an ancient great emperor had walked out from the ancient times. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were like the starry sky. The surrounding heaven and earth shook at the same time, and the vast light suddenly became as bright as day. The finger pointed at Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires. It was like a divine sword that reached the heavens, but also like an immortal mountain, containing a power fluctuation that could destroy heaven and earth. Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires felt that the surrounding time and space seemed to have stopped. The world was destroyed, and tens of thousands of creatures had fallen. In the endless river of time, only this finger had become eternal. Time extinction finger. Ling Xiao's eyes were sharp, containing a cold killing intent as he whispered to himself. Old man Tian Dao had intercepted the power of the flowing time emperor's attack and integrated it into the time compass, turning it into the time extinction finger. At this critical moment, Ling Xiao had finally used it. This is the all-out attack of the Supreme Great Emperor. How can you have such power? Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires expression changed drastically, and a trace of fear involuntarily appeared in her eyes. Even if she was a Heavenly Lord expert, and was only a thin layer away from the Supreme Emperor realm, as if she could touch the Emperor's path at any time and step into the Imperial Emperor realm, she couldn't help but tremble like an ant in the face of the time extinction finger. Everyone below the Emperor realm was an ant, and even a Heavenly Lord wouldn't be surprised. Crack. The time extinction finger swept across the sky and destroyed everything in an instant. All of Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires resistance was like a bubble that quickly burst. Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires palm shattered, and the finger fell directly on her forehead. Mysterious ripples of time spread out, causing the surrounding void to tremble at the same time. Heavenly Lord 7 emotions and 6 desires eyes were filled with horror. Her mouth was wide open, and her whole body burst like a bubble. It was as if the Heavenly Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires had completely disappeared from this world. The power of the age annihilation finger radiated through Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires toward the vast starry sky. Dozens of supreme stars within a radius of 1,000,000 miles turned into dust at the same time. As expected of the age extinction finger, celestial lords of 7 emotions and 6 desires should be dead, right? Ling Xiao's eyes were also filled with incomparable shock. The cultivation method of the age extinguishing finger was recorded in the Age of Time, but Ling Xiao had never thought that it would be so terrifying and domineering. This was the all-out attack of the flowing time emperor. Even though Heavenly Lord 7 emotions 6 desires was only a step away from the emperor realm, he was instantly obliterated like an ant. Ling Xiao staggered a little, his face slightly pale. In the battle with Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, he had suffered heavy injuries and lost a lot of his blood essence and life origin. However, he also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He had finally killed Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Moreover, Jin Sei's tribulation seemed to be coming to an end. Ling Xiao could see that the thunderbolts in the sky had disappeared. A mysterious and holy light of the great path enveloped Jin Sei, causing her to exude an ethereal aura. The corners of Jin Sei's mouth curled into a faint smile. The originally icy expression on her face slowly melted, and was filled with endless gentleness. Ling Xiao's heart couldn't help but tremble. Could Jin Sei really recover her memory? Oh no! Ling Xiao's face suddenly changed. Without thinking, he waved his sleeve and rolled Jin Sei up. He then used the Great Void Shift technique to leave this place. He felt a fatal threat approaching. The threat was even more terrifying than that of Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. It made his whole body numb. The age extinction finger had been used, and Ling Xiao was seriously injured. At this time, even if a Saint King realm expert came, Ling Xiao would have a hard time dealing with it. He guessed that it was very likely that the battle between him and Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires had attracted the attention of the Almighty of the Demon Realm. Ling Xiao, since you have already come to my demon realm, why are you in such a hurry to leave? An old and indifferent voice rang out in the starry sky. It was incomparably clear and transmitted into Ling Xiao's ears. Rumble. The surrounding starry sky suddenly exploded. The sky shook, and black demonic light surged like a curtain covering the sky. It formed a huge boundary, blocking Ling Xiao's path. An old man in gray robes suddenly appeared in the void. His entire body exuded an unfathomable aura. His eyes seemed to contain 2 devouring vortexes that could devour everything. It was a soul-stirring sight. His appearance made Ling Xiao feel a fatal crisis. Open for me. Ling Xiao didn't even look back. His eyes were full of coldness. The time compass once again bloomed with bright light and blasted toward the huge boundary in front of him. Crack! Black demonic light surged, and the black boundary shook violently. However, what made Ling Xiao's heart sink was that he found that the boundary was incomparably sturdy. Even the time compass couldn't break it. Who are you? Ling Xiao turned his head and stared at the gray-robed old man. At the same time, his whole body was on guard. In the demon realm, they all call me Yuanlu Demon King, and Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, who just died at your hands, is my junior sister. I really didn't expect that you would have the chrono finger left behind by the flowing time Great Emperor. However, that's all you have, right? The gray-robed old man said indifferently. Yuanlu Demon King? You can try. Let's see if you can block the chrono finger. Ling Xiao's heart sank, but on the surface he didn't show it. In the demon realm, those who could be called demon kings were supreme experts whose cultivation had stepped into the imperial emperor realm. Each of them was a peerless figure who could control the life and death of all living beings. Ling Xiao didn't expect that Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires had a senior brother. If that was the case, could their master be the unparalleled demon emperor? This was definitely the biggest crisis Ling Xiao had ever encountered. The reason why Yuanlu Demon King didn't immediately attack was probably because he had seen the power of the chrono finger. He was afraid, so he spoke to test Ling Xiao. This kind of verbal confrontation was much more dangerous than a real battle. The slightest carelessness would cause one to be smashed into pieces and die without a burial place. Chapter 2367. Is that so? Then I really want to test the power of the age-extinguishing finger. Go. Yuanlu Demon King's lips curled into a mocking smile. A bronze figurine appeared in his palm. In an instant, it expanded against the wind and turned into a burly warrior clad in bronze armor and wielding a long spear. His entire body exuded an immortal light. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. In an instant, he leaped into the air and thrust his long spear at Ling Xiao. He was indeed afraid of the age-extinguishing finger, but he was still a demon king. How could he be restrained because of fear? Although he didn't personally make a move, he had summoned a puppet magic treasure. The bronze warrior could unleash the power of a saint king at its strongest. Moreover, it was invulnerable and immortal. Ordinary saint kings were no match for this puppet. He wanted to use this bronze warrior to test how many trump cards Ling Xiao had. Kill. A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he summoned the time compass and charged at the bronze warrior. At the same time, he activated the wordless heavenly book and began to extract the Zhou Tian's energy to quickly heal his injuries. Boom. 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 The time compass and the bronze warrior clashed in the void, causing a dazzling light to erupt. The bronze warrior didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. The time compass overflowed with Emperor's aura, which contained supreme divine power, causing cracks to appear on the bronze warrior's sturdy body. However, the cracks quickly healed. The bronze warrior roared and finally broke through the time compass's blockade, and charged at Ling Xiao with the long spear in his hand. Dang. Ling Xiao threw out a punch and collided with the bronze spear. However, his expression changed as he felt a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas coming at him. It was extremely ferocious, and it was not weaker than his physical body at all. It directly sent him flying. Ling Xiao suddenly spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face became incomparably pale. He was already severely injured. Now that he was facing the bronze warrior with the power of a Saint King, he was no match for it. Although he was barely able to fight, he was losing ground. This can't be. If this goes on, I will definitely die. We have to break this barrier. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Rumble. He collided with the bronze warrior again, and was sent flying. Ling Xiao's eyes were instantly covered with a layer of madness. Terrifying divine light surged around him. He directly spat out a mouthful of his heart's blood, and fused it with the time compass. At the same time, he activated the wordless heaven book and fused it with the time compass. The time compass seemed to have completely awakened. It shone brightly in the vast starry sky like a burning star, and crashed into the barrier. Crack. This time, the incomparably sturdy barrier was unable to withstand the power of the time compass, and exploded with a loud bang. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he immediately used a teleportation secret technique to leave the starry sky. Demon King Yuanlu did not stop Ling Xiao. Instead, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You really can't use the age extinction finger. Demon King Yuanlu's voice rang out, but it sounded like a clap of thunder in Ling Xiao's ears. Boom. He struck out with his palm, and it was as if the vast starry sky and the surroundings had instantly fallen into his palm. The endless space-time folded and distorted, and it almost instantly traversed millions and millions of miles of void space, appearing behind Ling Xiao. This was a supreme divine ability. This was the power of a demon king. Although Ling Xiao did not know how Demon King Yuanlu found out that he could not use the age extinction finger, he knew that if he did not have a way to block it, he would definitely be smashed into pieces. Rumble. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with madness. The time compass was majestic, and it blocked behind him like a mountain. Then it violently collided with Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Endless divine light exploded, and the Extreme Emperor's aura swept out in all directions like a monstrous wave. Unsurprisingly, the time compass was directly sent flying by Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Ling Xiao's body trembled violently, as if he was about to explode. Dense cracks appeared on his body like a spiderweb. Blood flowed out, and his body became a bloody mess. Although the time compass blocked Demon King Yuanlu's palm, the rebounding force still caused Ling Xiao to suffer an unimaginable injury. The gap between Ling Xiao and Demon King Yuanlu was too big. It was so big that even with the Extreme Emperor's aura, there was no way to make up for the gap between the two. Even if Ling Xiao had an incomparably strong will, when faced with such a scene he felt despair. He could not see the slightest hope of escaping. Ling Xiao's face was incomparably pale. After losing a large amount of life source, even the recovery of his physical body had slowed down a lot. However, his body was as straight as a pencil, like an unyielding divine sword, as if he was going to pierce through this part of the sky. Buzz. The time compass and the wordless heavenly book lit up at the same time, blooming with immortal light, and blocked in front of Ling Xiao. 12 divine rings revolved around him, and at the same time, a vast yin and yang energy guided the time compass and the wordless heavenly book. With these two supreme treasures as the foundation, they turned into a dazzling barrier that enveloped Ling Xiao. The time compass and the wordless heavenly book? Ha ha. Ling Xiao, not bad. I like these two treasures very much. In return, I will give you a quick death. Demon King Yuanlu's eyes also lit up, revealing a trace of cold killing intent. Even if he was an imperial emperor expert, in the face of the time compass and the wordless heavenly book, he was tempted. An extreme emperor weapon and a legendary chaos treasure. If Demon King Yuanlu could obtain these two treasures, not only would his battle strength skyrocket, but he would also have the hope of peeking into the great emperor realm. He thought of the peerless genius of the human race thousands of years ago, the great Void Emperor, who possessed the good fortune jade disc, and was able to kill a demon emperor. Perhaps he also had the chance to reach that realm. At the thought of this, Even Demon King Yuanlo's heart was burning with passion. Rumble. He struck out a palm, and the huge demonic palm contained a power that could destroy heaven and earth. With a loud bang, it slammed into the transparent barrier. Buzz. The barrier emitted ripples like water waves, but the huge energy was dissolved by the wordless heavenly book and the good fortune jade disc. Within the barrier, Ling Zhao's face turned paler. However, he did not look at Demon King Yuanlu. Instead, he waved his sleeve and released Jin Se. Jin Se's body emitted a faint light, and the qi of yin and yang revolved around her. It was as if she had fallen into a strange state of enlightenment, and had yet to awaken. Ling Xiao stared at Jin Se in a daze, as if he wanted to imprint Jin Se in his soul, and engrave her in his bones. At this moment, it was as if Demon King Yuanlo's attack was no longer important. The trembling barrier was no longer important. The stars in the sky were no longer important. The billions of lives were no longer important. In Ling Zhao's eyes there was only Jin Se. Chapter 2368. The wordless heavenly book and time compass were like the two fishes of the yin-yang taiji diagram. They carried the yin-yang and carried the yang, forming a transparent boundary around 10 feet wide. Like a bubble, it shone brightly under the dark starry sky, protecting Ling Xiao and Jin Se within it. Rumble. Every attack of the Demon King of Yuanlu contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. When it hit the boundary, it exploded with terrifying waves, like a violent storm that wanted to destroy everything. Ling Zhao's life had already become one with the boundary. He used the yin-yang secret technique as the foundation, the 12 sky skills secret technique, the wordless heavenly book and the time compass to form this life boundary. He was completely using his life as the price to maintain the boundary. Every attack of the Demon King of Yuanlu required him to consume 100,000 years of his life to maintain the boundary. So his face became paler and paler. In the end, it was as white as a sheet of paper. But at this moment, Ling Xiao had already disregarded his life and death. His eyes were all on Jin Se, filled with endless emotions and expectations. He did not know where the feelings came from, but they were deep. At this moment, Ling Xiao seemed to be in a trance, thinking of the scene when he first saw Jin Se 10,000 years ago. Jin Se, I may not be able to wait until you wake up. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, the corners of his mouth rising slightly, revealing a smile. Jin Se was sitting cross-legged in front of him. Her brows were lowered, and her eyes were slightly closed. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Her face was flawless, and there was a kind of soul-stirring beauty. She seemed to be immersed in some kind of dream. Her aura was getting stronger and stronger, and there was a kind of saintly aura spreading out, causing her to undergo the final transformation. Ling Xiao wondered if Jin Se was having the same dream as him at this moment. Jin Se, what I'm thinking about the most right now is the first time we met at Gemini Mountain. You were gentle and elegant, with a faint smile on your face. You called me Big Brother, Ling Xiao softly. That was the happiest time of my life. Unlike now, where I'm sitting right beside you. But you don't know me at all. There was a trace of bitterness at the corner of Ling Zhao's mouth, and his eyes were slightly blurred. You waited for me for 10,000 years. In that colorless sea of chaos, your hair turned white, your clothes were red like blood, and your hair was white like frost. I don't know what allowed you to persevere. My heart aches. Every time I think about it, I regret it and blame myself. If it was possible, I would even be willing to exchange with you and wait for you for 10,000 years. Jins, do you know? I have been reborn, and all my beliefs are because of you. You are the one who has supported me, and you are the only power that has supported me throughout these long years. I'm very glad. The heavens have given me a second chance at life, a chance to find you. Even if I have to break through the cycle of reincarnation and traverse the heavens, I will still find you, my zither. Jins, do you know? After reincarnating, I met many people. The old goat, Taoist Wu Liang, Phoenix Lady, Moon Goddess, and of course that Joker Zhao Ritian. They have warmed me, and I am grateful. I swear to protect all the people I love and those who love me. Of course, there is also Shuewei. Ling Xiao mumbled to himself. He didn't know if Jin Se could hear him, but he wanted to pour his heart out to Jin Se like this. He wanted to tell Jinsei about his longing, his experiences, and his everything. His face was sometimes smiling, sometimes sad, sometimes pained, sometimes agitated. Against his pale face, it made one's heart ache even more. When he mentioned Jins, Ling Xiao could not help but pause. Jins, do you know? I have never thought that anyone would be able to enter my heart, because it only belongs to you. Therefore, no matter if it is Phoenix Lady, Moon Goddess, or anyone else, I understand their feelings, and I am grateful for their special treatment. However, I cannot accept them, because I only have you in my heart. But Shuewei is different. At first, she was just a maid by my side. She was the one who treated me the best, and I felt pity for her. However, I never thought that I would be so important in her heart, even more important than her life, more important than her everything. Ling Xiao's gaze trembled slightly. He could vaguely see that elegant woman in white clothes. She was pure and beautiful, with a beautiful smile. She stood by his side, timidly calling him young master and smiling at him. I remember that in the Sea of Reincarnation, she jumped into the Sea of Reincarnation to save me. I also remember that in the realm of reincarnation, she fought for me. I remember that in the realm of reincarnation, she came out of the realm of reincarnation to fight against strong enemies for me, and she did not hesitate to be heavily injured. I also remember that outside the ancient land of primal chaos, she almost died for me. Jins, how could I not know her feelings? I am not a block of wood. I can feel it, but I can only have a heart of stone. I told myself that I only have you in my heart, and I also told her that I only love you. Therefore, how could I not know that she was sad and heartbroken several times? Her feelings for me are too strong. What have I done to deserve her to think so highly of me? However, I don't know when, but she has silently taken up residence in my heart. She is very, very heavy. Ling Xiao's expression was pained, but also relaxed and relieved. Jins, I don't know if you can hear what I'm saying. However, these are the words that have always been in my heart. If I don't say them today, perhaps I won't have another chance in the future. Shuewei's feelings, I can't repay her in this life. If there is a next life, I will repay her. However, my dearest Jins, I can't let you die. You have to live. In this life, I won't let anyone hurt you. Not gods, not saints, not monarchs, not even great emperors in all the other worlds. Can't. Ling Xiao smiled. His eyes were already wet with tears, blurring his vision. However, there was an unimaginable determination in his voice. Boom. 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 Demon Monarch Yuanluo's attack was able to shatter the surrounding starry sky and annihilate endless space. The boundary shook violently, and even with the wordless heavenly book and time compass, these two supreme treasures, it seemed that they could not withstand it. Most importantly, Ling Xiao's lifespan was almost completely depleted. Come, Demon Monarch Yuanlu, I am not afraid of you. However, no one can hurt my Jins, no one. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of madness as he roared at Demon Monarch Yuanlu. Ignorant ant, I can see the despair and madness in your eyes. However, you know nothing about power. What can you change? Demon Monarch Yuanlu smiled faintly. He did not care about Ling Xiao's roar at all, and continued to attack Ling Xiao with his palm. At this moment, what Ling Xiao and Demon Monarch Yuanlu did not notice was that Jin's fingers trembled slightly, and a crystal-clear teardrop fell from the corner of her smiling eyes. Chapter 2369. Rumble. Divine light blotted out the sky as a fierce battle unfolded in front of Jinsei. That familiar figure was still standing in front of her, shielding her from the wind and rain, blocking all difficulties for her. The blood all over Ling Xiao's body began to burn fiercely. His remaining life source began to transform into his greatest battle prowess, augmenting his body. The wordless heavenly book was like an eternal sun, drawing energy from the endless space-time and pouring it into Ling Xiao's body. The wordless heavenly book seemed to have sensed the danger Ling Xiao was in, and began to erupt with all its might. Wang. The time compass soared into the sky, releasing a dazzling light that shrouded Jinsei's body. The surrounding space-time was distorted, and a mysterious river of time vaguely appeared. The time compass was about to open up a space-time passage to escort Jinsei out of here. Trying to leave? Wishful thinking. Demon King Yuanlu sneered. A huge palm print fell from the sky, containing a monstrous demonic light and baleful aura, completely shrouding Ling Xiao and the time compass. Demon King Yuanlu's palm contained an extreme emperor's aura that could destroy everything. It was ferocious and domineering, causing the space-time passage formed by the time compass to tremble violently. Demon King Yuanlu, your opponent is me. Ling Xiao roared. His eyes filled with cold killing intent. His body began to expand, and a terrifying golden divine light exploded. In an instant, he turned into a golden giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. A golden divine dragon coiled around his body, and his arms held the sky as he collided with Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and the surrounding starry sky began to shake. Ling Xiao and Demon King Yuanlu's palms collided, and suddenly, a huge shockwave swept out. The surrounding huge stars were hit by the shockwave, and immediately shattered into pieces. Although the space-time passage formed by the time compass trembled violently, it did not shatter in the end. Roar. A terrifying dragon roar rang out. Ling Xiao's blood qi was torrential as he merged with the golden dragon around him, exuding a boundless draconic aura that was ancient and mysterious. It was as though he was the reincarnation of the ancestor dragon of the primordial era. Stretching out his powerful draconic body, he lunged towards Demon Lord Yuanlu. Ling Xiao, do you think you can hurt me after burning the last million years of your life? How childish. Let me tell you, not only will you die, even the woman you want to save will die today. Demon King Yuanlu sneered. Although he was entangled by the golden dragon, his expression was incomparably cold, as if he did not care at all. Whoosh. He pointed out with his finger and instantly, the surrounding space trembled. Boundless starlight gathered and transformed into an incomparably dazzling ray of light. Its speed was extremely fast and it instantly landed on the time compass. Boom. Suffering such a fierce attack, the time compass began to tremble violently. Runes exploded and the surrounding spacetime began to distort. The spacetime tunnel formed by the time compass exploded. Although Jin Sei did not suffer any injuries under the protection of the time compass, she had completely lost her chance to escape. Demon King Yuanlu, I will indeed die today. However, with an emperor accompanying me in death, I, Ling Xiao, will have no regrets. Ling Xiao's cold voice rang out, containing a kind of determination and madness. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Demon King Yuanlu suddenly felt that something was amiss. Without thinking, a terrifying emperor aura erupted from his body. The incomparably huge golden dragon trembled violently. In an instant, dense cracks appeared like a spider web, as if it would explode at any time. Rumble. However, within the golden dragon's body, a resplendent sun bloomed with dazzling light. Its aura began to surge crazily, like a volcano that was about to erupt. This made Demon King Yuanlu feel a fatal danger. Ling Xiao, are you crazy? You. How could you? How dare you self-detonate the wordless heavenly book? Demon King Yuanlu roared, his voice filled with exasperation and fear. Boom. 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 He crazily attacked the golden dragon that was coiled around his body. Palm prints and fist auras were unparalleled, smashing the dragon's scales into a bloody mess, almost turning it into dust. However, with the support of the wordless heavenly book, the golden dragon seemed to have become incomparably sturdy, and Demon King Yuanlu could not break it open for a while. Demon King Yuanlu did not expect Ling Xiao to be so crazy. He actually wanted to self-detonate the wordless heavenly book. What was the wordless heavenly book? It was one of the legendary 10 Great Chaos Treasures. Each of the 10 Great Chaos Treasures was created by the heavens and earth, and contained secrets that would make great emperors go crazy. If the primal chaos treasures were to self-detonate, even a great emperor would probably die from the explosion. Although the current wordless heavenly book was incomplete, Demon King Yuanlu was not a true great emperor. He did not have the confidence to face the self-detonation of the wordless heavenly book. Demon King Yuanlu, die with me. Ling Xiao's incomparably cold voice rang out. Within the body of the golden giant dragon, Ling Xiao's figure seemed to have appeared. Under his activation, the wordless heavenly book seemed to have completely melted. It was like a sun that had reached the end of its life. With a loud bang, it erupted, shrouding him and Demon Lord Yuanlu within. Jinsei, you must live on. You must live on. The moment the wordless heavenly book self-detonated, Ling Zhao's gaze fell on Jinsei in the distance. His eyes were filled with endless longing and reluctance. Jinsei had a very, very long dream. In the dream, she suddenly recalled everything. She recalled the first time she met the young man at Gemini Mountain. The young man's shy and delicate face, the young man's clear eyes, and the trace of throbbing in her heart. She recalled the young man's unparalleled talent. He grew from an orphan to the world-renowned sky-devouring supreme. The young man who had always stood by her side, sheltering her from the wind and rain, and treated her as his own life. She also recalled the sudden grievous news of the young man's death. She almost fainted, but in the end, with her inner perseverance and stubbornness, she waited for the young man for tens of thousands of years. She also recalled that tens of thousands of years later, when she was besieged by the demon gods and narrowly escaped death, it was that figure who appeared again. He saved her, loved her, and protected her. After tens of thousands of years, she knew that he was still him. Everything in the past surged like a tide. She had forgotten everything and everyone, but she could not forget that young man. Jinsei used the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram to devour Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Tao of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. After fusing it with the Tao of Great Oblivion, she finally broke through to the realm of great emotions. Naturally, she underwent the saint tribulation and became a saint. But in that mysterious breakthrough, Jinsei seemed to feel that someone was whispering in her ear, telling her something. That intense longing spread in the depths of Jinsei's heart. Unknowingly, her eyes were wet, and tears of lovesickness slid down her cheeks. She vaguely felt that she was about to lose the most important thing to her. She struggled with all her might, wanting to shout, wanting to wake up from that mysterious breakthrough. Boom! Jinsei suddenly opened her eyes. In front of her was the last scene of Yuanlu Demon Lord and Ling Xiao being engulfed by the terrifying storm of the wordless heavenly book's self-detonation. Brother Ling Xiao. Chapter 2370. When Jinsei saw Ling Xiao's eyes, they were filled with longing, reluctance, anticipation, and blessings. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. Jinsei, you have to live on well. Ling Xiao's voice still reverberated in her ears, causing her to fall into a daze. Wang. The Chronos compass sprinkled down sparkling light, forming a mysterious time boundary that protected Jinsei within. She didn't suffer any harm. Jinsei stumbled, her face filled with incomparable grief. Her face was pale, and her entire body began to tremble. Big brother Ling Xiao, why didn't you wait for me? I remember now. I remember everything now. Why did you leave me alone? Jinsei sobbed softly, but her voice was completely drowned out by the loud noise. The wordless heavenly tome was a chaos treasure. In the past, Ling Xiao would only be able to borrow a little of its power, but he wouldn't be able to make it self-destruct. However, after Ling Xiao had obtained the 12 heaven arts and used it to condense his Tao fruit and become a saint, the wordless heavenly book had completely merged with Ling Xiao. He had complete control over it, and it was like a part of his body. This was why Ling Xiao was able to make it self-destruct. Even Yuanlu Demon Lord hadn't expected this. Rumble. The self-destruction of the wordless heavenly book was even more terrifying and shocking than the explosion of the sun. A huge black hole appeared in the vast starry sky. Endless divine light radiated in all directions, sweeping away the starry sky within a radius of millions of miles. Whether it was the stars, the sun, or the asteroids, they were all reduced to dust. Time and space twisted. The laws of the great Tao crumbled, and chaos filled the air. It was like the end of the world. This kind of terrifying self-destruction was enough to completely erase all matter. Even a saint wouldn't be surprised. Big brother Ling Xiao, you definitely won't die. We've overcome so many difficulties. There's nothing in this world that can defeat you. Jinsei muttered to herself, and tears fell again as she spoke. She recalled all the things that had happened to her and Ling Xiao after she lost her memories. She was both regretful and sad. Her voice trembled slightly, as if she was trying to convince herself of something. Swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, a series of powerful sonic booms came from the void, emitting an unfathomable aura. Lu Bai, Hun Yuanzi, Samsara Temple Master, and Extermination Path Master had arrived. Zhao Ritian Shuewei and Feng Qingyang had also arrived. Jinse, are you alright? When Daolord Extermination saw Jinsei, a look of concern appeared in his eyes. He walked to Jinsei's side and asked. Jinsei was her personal disciple, so she was naturally very satisfied with her. Not only did Jinsei possess the supreme Taoist physique, but she also possessed extremely high attainments in the supreme unruffled emotions path. She was seen as the future successor of the supreme Taoist palace by Daolord Extermination, so there was naturally no room for failure. Jinsei shook her head and didn't say anything. Her gaze was fixed on the spot where Yuan Lu Demon Lord and Ling Xiao self-destructed, waiting for a miracle to happen. Sister Jinsei, where is young master? Shuewei's face was slightly pale, but she still asked Jinsei. She also saw the terrifying explosion and the incomparably huge black hole in front of her. She seemed to have thought of something, and her body staggered a little. Jinsei's gaze fell on Shuewei, and after a while, she said sadly, Brother Ling Xiao activated the wordless heavenly book to self-destruct in order to save me. He wanted to perish together with Yuan Lu Demon Lord. Before Jinsei could finish her words, Shuewei's face was already pale. She suddenly looked at the terrifying divine light vortex in the distance, and understood everything immediately. Young master will be fine. Young master won't die. Shuewei's voice was hoarse, and she couldn't finish her sentence. Her beautiful eyes instantly turned red. She stood silently beside Jinsei, and like Jinsei, her gaze fell on the distant starry sky, waiting for a miracle to happen. Yuan Lu Demon Lord? Damn it! Why is he here? Lu Bai's expression was extremely solemn, and his eyes were filled with incomparable rage. Yuan Lu Demon Lord was famous in the demon realm. He was extremely ferocious and powerful, and his hands were also stained with the blood of the human race. His name was enough to stop children from crying at night. Even Hun Yuanzi, Samsara Temple Master, and Extermination Path Master's expressions changed. Could Ling Xiao survive a battle between a peerless imperial emperor and such a peerless expert? Why is that bastard Ling Xiao so reckless? Why didn't he wait for me to come? So what if he's an imperial emperor? I, Zhao Ritian, really want to see how strong Yuan Lu Demon Lord is. Zhao Ritian's eyes were also filled with anxiety. Everyone knew how mysterious and powerful the wordless heavenly book was, and they also knew how powerful the explosion of the wordless heavenly book would be. From the chaotic black hole in the starry sky and the endless chaotic laws of the great Tao, it could be seen that it was enough to destroy and annihilate everything. Rumble. At the same time, a few powerful auras swept across the sky from the demon realm. Their bodies exuded a monstrous demonic light, and their eyes were filled with cruelty and coldness. Those few figures were also almighty experts of the Saint King realm. The Saint Kings of the demon realm and the human race faced each other under the starry sky. However, they were extremely restrained and did not engage in a battle. After looking at each other coldly for a while, their gazes fell on the divine light storm in the distance. Soon, the terrifying shockwaves from the explosion of the wordless heavenly book began to dissipate slowly. The divine light in the void dispersed, leaving behind an incomparably huge black hole. Then it began to shrink slowly. Under the inertia of the world, the space gradually recovered. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure quickly swept out from the black hole and appeared in front of everyone. Yuan Lu Demon Lord? Lu Bai and the others were shocked. They had never thought that Yuan Lu Demon Lord would still be alive after the terrifying explosion of the wordless heavenly book. At that moment, however, Demon Monarch Yuan Lu appeared incomparably wretched. Both his arms had been reduced to smithereens and cracks could be seen all over his body. A small portion of his body appeared to have been sliced apart by a blade. His fleshly body was already on the verge of destruction. His aura was also extremely weak. A cracked shield floated above his head, and his eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. Where is Brother Ling Xiao? Where's young master? Chapter 2371. Ling Xiao had completely disappeared. Under the dark starry sky, Demon King Yuanlu was left in a sorry state. He had suffered unimaginable injuries, but he was still alive. Ling Xiao? Of course he's dead. He detonated the wordless heavenly book and still wanted to live. Dream on. Demon King Yuanlu laughed maniacally, completely shattering Jinsei and Shuiwei's hopes. No. Brother Ling Xiao won't die. He said he would wait for me to come back. Brother Ling Xiao, I have regained my memories. I remember everything. Come back quickly. Jinsei shouted at the endless starry sky. Her beautiful face was filled with tears and her shoulders were trembling. Her voice was so sorrowful that it would move anyone who heard it. Young master. Young master. Shuiwei's eyes dimmed instantly. Her face was pale as she muttered to herself. She looked like she had lost her soul, and tears blurred her vision. The miracle that they had been waiting for did not happen. Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly scripture. Under that terrifying force, the void shattered into a black hole. The laws of the great Tao were completely shattered. As for the shield treasure above Yuanlu Demon Lord's head, it was at least a powerful quasi-emperor weapon. But now, it was on the verge of destruction. Ling Xiao had been completely obliterated. Demon King Yuanlu, you deserve to die. Lu Bai's eyes turned red in an instant, revealing an extremely cold murderous intent. His white robe fluttered in the wind as the celestial emperor's seal spun in the air like an ancient mountain, illuminating the endless darkness of the starry sky and pressing down on demon monarch Yuanlu. Ling Xiao's death had completely enraged Lu Bai. Ling Xiao shouldn't have died in your hands. You don't deserve to. Since he's dead, you should accompany him. Zhao Ritian's expression turned serious, which was rare for him. Sword will rose around him, and the heavenly Tao Emperor sword instantly gave off an unparalleled radiance. It split into tens of thousands of sword lights in the void and shot towards Demon King Yuanlu. The heavenly Emperor's seal and the heavenly Emperor sword, the two great Tao Emperor weapons, exploded at the same time. 3,000 great Taos began to tremble violently. The vast starry sky shook, and an aura of destruction spread out. Damn it! Demon King Yuanlu's expression changed immediately. His eyes were filled with horror and dread as he retreated rapidly. His current state was too weak. Even a sage might be able to kill him, let alone two extreme Tao Emperor weapons attacking at the same time. How dare you? You dare to face Demon Monarch Fu Yuanlu in front of us? Do you think there's no one in the demon realm who can do it? The saint rulers from the devil world all shouted coldly. Rumble. At this moment, two bright lights flew out from the devil realm and turned into a blood-red flag and a small black pagoda. They exuded a vast emperor's aura and instantly flew towards the heavenly emperor seal and the heavenly emperor sword. It's the blood hell flag in the undying tower. Tao Lord Extermination's eyes flashed sharply as he recognized the origin of the two supreme emperor weapons. This region of the starry sky was close to the devil domain and could be considered the devil domain's home ground. The wordless heaven book's explosion had naturally alerted many devil domain's almighties. Hence, when the heavenly Varch seal and heavenly Tao Emperor sword made their moves, two great apex Tharch weapons immediately came forward. Boom! Boom! The four great apex Tharch weapons clashed under the starry sky and let out a deafening sound that caused the sky to tremble violently. The bright divine light dyed the darkness into daytime. You despicable and damned humans! Wait till I recover from my injuries, I'll settle the score with you. Demon King Yuanlu glared at Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian with hatred. He took the opportunity to perform a teleportation technique and was about to fly towards the devil world. Brother Ling Xiao is dead. You'll be buried with him. Jinsei suddenly said indifferently. There was no emotion in her eyes. Resplendent light bloomed from her palm. The time compass instantly turned into a stream of light and pressed down on Demon Lord Yuanlu. Ling Xiao had already left the inheritance of the time compass in the time compass and was prepared to hand it over to Jinsei. Hence, Jinsei could already control the power of the time compass. Buzz. The vast power of time exploded. Demon King Yuanlu's body shook, and he was instantly fixed in the void. It was as though he was frozen and could no longer move. His eyes were filled with terror. This was the time compass's time-stop domain. Demon King Yuanlu could have easily broken free from it if he was at his peak. However, he was unable to resist the vast power of time in his current state. How dare you? The Saint Kings of the Devil race were shocked. They immediately leaped up and performed powerful techniques. Their Saint Aura sword, and they wanted to kill Jinsei. At this moment, Daolord Extermination naturally could not sit by and watch them attack Jinsei. A cold light flashed in his eyes and vast Dao will rose around him. It turned into a huge black and white Tai Chi diagram in the void and blocked in front of Jinsei. Demon bastards, what's the point of bullying a junior? Let your grandfather teach you how to behave. Hun Yuanzi and Samsara Temple Master sneered and attacked at the same time. Rumble. Saint Kings were the strongest experts in the world. Each of them had monstrous combat strength and could control the power of the Great Way. Every move they made contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. The battle between the Saint Kings of the human race and the Saint Kings of the Devil race caused the surrounding space to shake and stars to shatter in their battle. At this moment, the time compass struck Demon King Yuanlu's body with extreme speed. Boom! Demon King Yuanlu exploded into a bloody mist in the void. Even his primordial spirit did not have time to escape. His essence blood was completely devoured by the time compass. An Imperial Emperor expert had died at Jinsei's hands just like that. The Saint Kings of the Devil race were all stunned. Every Imperial Emperor had the potential to become the legendary Supreme Emperor. They were the seeds of the Supreme Emperor, candidates for the Crown Prince, and peerless experts in the world. If the Supreme Emperor did not appear, the Imperial Emperors would be the strongest. However, who would have thought that Demon King Yuanlu would die in such a humiliating manner? First, he was severely injured by the explosion of the wordless heavenly book. Then he was killed by the time compass. A hole has been pierced in the sky. We must leave this place quickly. Hun Yuanzi and Samsara Temple Master looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. The death of Demon King Yuanlu would definitely make the entire devil world go crazy. They killed Demon King Yuanlu. They must die. As expected, the eyes of the Saint Kings of the Devil race turned red. Their bodies were filled with murderous intent, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They charged toward Lu Bai and the others. Chapter 2372. Let's leave this place first. Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian looked at each other and made the decision at the same time. Since Yuanlu Demon King had died at Jinsei's hands, there was no need for them to continue fighting. This was the home ground of the demon world. If they continued fighting, they might be in danger of being wiped out. Let's go. Hun Yuanzi, the Samsara Temple Master, and the Daolord of Extermination all nodded. They immediately erupted with extremely great power and forced back the demon Saint Kings. Afterwards, they shifted into the distance. Jinsei, what are you doing? Come back quickly. Annihilation Path Master's expression changed suddenly. He saw Jinsei holding the time compass and exuding a mysterious light. She was walking slowly into the depths of the starry sky, surrounded by mysterious ripples of space-time. Master, please allow me to be willful just this once. I'm going to look for Big Brother Ling Xiao. I'll definitely find him in all the mountains and rivers. I'll definitely find him. I will. Jinsei smiled at Annihilation Path Master. Her smile was faint and it made one's heart ache. Silly girl. But Ling Xiao is already dead. Annihilation Path Master's heart softened. He laughed bitterly and shook his head. However, Jinsei's gaze was resolute. She looked at Annihilation Path Master seriously. The time compass suddenly emitted a dazzling light and swept Jinsei up, disappearing into the starry sky. Young Master. Shuewei's body trembled. She wanted to say something, but Samsara Temple Master seemed to have sensed something. He swept Shuewei up with his sleeves and teleported into the distance. Although the demon world was seething with anger because of Yuanlu Demon King's death, the demon race Saint Kings could not wait to tear Lu Bai and the others into pieces. But with Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian protecting them, the two of them took out the Heavenly Emperor's seal and Heavenly Emperor sword to block the terrifying attacks of the demon race Saint Kings and escape unscathed. The news of Ling Xiao exploding the wordless heavenly book and killing Yuanlu Demon King quickly spread throughout the realm of the gods. It even spread to the other worlds, shocking everyone. Ling Xiao is so unyielding? He caused the wordless heavenly book to explode and perished together with Yuanlu Demon King. What a bold move. But this time, the chosen one of our human race has fallen. Will the providence of the heavenly Tao continue to favor our human race? Although it is a great loss for the devil realm to lose Yuanlu Devil King, the significance of the chosen one to the human race is not something a mere Yuanlu Devil King can compare with. AI, isn't that so? Ling Xiao possessed extraordinary talent and peerless natural talent. Not only had his body attained the saint realm, he'd even attained the saint realm in heart energy, the laws and the soul core, allowing him to attain the unprecedented 4 saint realms. With the cultivation of the saint realm, he could slaughter a supreme saint and battle a saint king. Perhaps only the 9 emperors of the human clan can be compared to such a person, right? If Ling Xiao hadn't died, he might have become the 10th emperor of the human race and lead the human race to a new era. In my opinion, other than the devil race, the ones who are the happiest about Ling Xiao's death are the immortal Holy Lands and the supreme monarch race, right? They attacked Ling Xiao for their own selfish interests and disregarded the righteousness of the human race. They are not fit to be called humans. Hush. Do you want to die? Those immortal Holy Lands and the supreme monarch race rule the realm of the gods. If they hear you, you're finished. The human race has no hope. The news of Ling Xiao's death caused the entire realm of the gods to fall into a sorrowful mood. Perhaps many people had not seen Ling Xiao before this and did not know about his past. However, after the battle at Ling Xiao Mountain, Ling Xiao had used his strength to win the respect of everyone. Many people even saw him as the hope of the human race. After all, Ling Xiao was the chosen one of this era and had received the blessing of the heavenly Tao. As long as he did not die in the future, he was destined to become a peerless figure like the 9 emperors of the human clan. Now he had fallen before he had even grown up. Countless people in the universe were shocked by this news. Those who liked and admired Ling Xiao were naturally incomparably sorrowful. However, those who were afraid and jealous of Ling Xiao were incomparably elated. They celebrated and clapped their hands in joy. War God Temple. Rumble. Huge bolts of lightning descended like dragons and landed on a bronze-skinned man. His muscles were firm and his blood was monstrous. His entire body exuded a dignified and mysterious aura. This was a saint tribulation. That man was Pangu's celestial handle. Pangu's celestial handle exuded a monstrous baleful aura. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He leaped into the sea of lightning and punched out like a dragon, constantly shattering the lightning tribulation. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed it all. Such a terrifying saint tribulation did not cause him any harm. Instead, it became nourishment for him to prove his Tao and become a saint. Soon, Pangu's celestial handle passed the saint tribulation. Strange phenomena descended from the sky, golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and flowers fell from the sky. His entire body began to emit a vast saint aura. Grand Elder, from today onwards, I will guard the War God Temple for the Temple Master until he returns. I don't believe that the Temple Master will die. No one can kill him. Pangu's celestial handle leaped to Lu Wenjing's side and said seriously. The news of Ling Xiao's death had already spread to the War God Temple. Pangu's celestial handle did not make it to the Battle of Ling Xiao Mountain, because he had to go into seclusion to break through after coming out of the chaos ancient land. He was vexed and angry. He wished he could fight alongside Ling Xiao, but he also knew that the most important thing now was to protect the War God Temple. Ling Xiao was no longer here, but the War God Temple could not fall. Celestial handle, I also believe that junior brother will return. Lu Wenjing's eyes turned slightly red as he sighed softly. Everyone found it hard to accept such an outcome. In their hearts, it was as if no one could defeat Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao could not possibly die. However, the soul lamp Ling Xiao left in the War God Temple had been extinguished, which completely shattered everyone's hopes. After Lu Bai returned to the War God Temple, he immediately went into seclusion. The entire War God Temple was filled with a sorrowful atmosphere, but at the same time, There was a burning flame of hatred. It was hatred towards the immortal sacred grounds, the supreme monarch clan, and the demon race. The disciples of the war god temple began to gather together, and they began to cultivate and grow crazily. The Heaven's Choice Convention ended, and the news of Ling Xiao's death spread throughout the god realm. At the same time, many peerless geniuses in the god realm began to prove their Tao and become saints. After experiencing the baptism of the Heaven's Choice Convention, they all obtained many opportunities and fortunes, which made up for their lack of foundation, allowing them to prove their Tao and become saints. It was as if a golden era had opened. Countless peerless geniuses appeared and competed with each other. It was like the peak of prosperity before the arrival of destruction. More and more peerless geniuses appeared in the human race. Chapter 2373. Soaring Cloud Mountain Range. A three-legged golden crow shrouded in flames was flying towards them. After the battle in Soaring Cloud Mountain Range, a few mountains had been destroyed, causing the already chaotic laws to become even more chaotic. Strong winds blew, destroying endless vitality, leaving only bare mountains. Void cracks could be seen everywhere, and one could be swallowed by the void cracks if they were not careful. The three-legged golden crow was shrouded in golden flames. It looked ancient and mysterious, and its sharp eyes were emitting a fierce aura. On top of the three-legged golden crow stood a tall and handsome young man in golden armor. His body was glowing, and his aura was like that of an emperor. He had an aura that made people submit to him. Second uncle, why did you bring me to Soaring Cloud Mountain Range? Zhao Ritian asked curiously. Your cultivation has reached the extreme state of a half-step saint, but your foundation is not enough. Unlike Ling Xiao, you did not obtain the heavenly fate. So even if you become a saint, you'll only be an ordinary saint. The Lingxiao mountain range is the ruins of the heavenly palace. There is a secret realm here, which is a fragment of the untainted land. If you can cultivate in it, you will be able to accumulate supreme fate and creation in just a few decades and become an invincible saint. Second uncle said seriously. Chaos fragment? I didn't expect there to be such a place in Soaring Cloud Mountain Range. But second uncle, I believe that Ling Xiao is not dead. Zhao Ritian said slowly. Are you sure? Ling Xiao self-destructed the wordless heavenly book. Even an emperor could not withstand that kind of power. I'm afraid he's already dead. Second uncle sighed softly. I don't know either. But I have this intuition. Whether Ling Xiao is dead or not, he was killed by those shameless saint lands, emperor families, and demons. I won't let them go. Zhao Ritian's face revealed a rare serious expression, and his eyes were overflowing with killing intent. Ling Xiao, perhaps he was destined to face such a calamity. His brilliance was too dazzling. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. His mistake was to offend those people when he was not strong enough. If he had the cultivation of a heavenly emperor, even if he overturned the world, who would dare to say a word? Second uncle said slowly. Second master, I've finally seen it clearly. The so-called great calamity of an epoch, the so-called change in karmic luck, was not the abandonment of the human race by the heavenly Tao, but the human race's self-destruction. By now, these decadent human beings only knew how to scheme against each other, eliminate the dissidents, and scramble for power and profit. They were all a bunch of bullies. How could they still have the courage to fight against the heaven and the earth like their ancestors? Although I don't have the same talent as my father, if I become the emperor in the future, I will definitely kill all those scum of the human race and rebuild the human race. I've never believed in destiny. I only believe that man can conquer the heavens. Zhao Ritian sneered coldly. His words were loud and clear. The second uncle fell silent. However, he seemed very pleased. It was as if he could see the shadow of the celestial emperor in Zhao Ritian. Perhaps there was still hope. Good. Let's take it one step at a time and cultivate in the chaos fragment. The second master's voice was a little agitated as he said to Zhao Ritian. Chirp. The three-legged golden crow seemed to have sensed its master's state of mind. It let out a piercing cry as it spread its wings and shot towards the depths of the Lingxiao mountain range like a bolt of golden lightning. Demon Realm. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were listening to the report of a burly man below with ashen faces. Young master, this is what happened. In the end, Sir Lingxiao detonated the wordless heavenly book and severely injured Yuanlu Demon King. Yuanlu Demon King also died in the hands of Saintess Jin Se of the Supreme Taoist Palace. The burly man said respectfully. Boom. The black hair on the old goat's body seemed to have exploded. In an instant, a monstrous demonic aura erupted, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Demon race. Demon race. I will not live under the same sky as you. The old goat roared. His eyes were red as he soared into the sky in an instant. The huge stone hall exploded with a loud bang. Not only the demon race, but those bastards from the divine realm must also pay the price. Taoist Wuliang followed closely behind the old goat. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Rumble. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky raged. The void trembled and finally turned into a huge palm print. With a slap, it slapped the old goat and Taoist Wuliang down from the void. Master, why did you stop me? The old goat did not suffer any serious injuries, but his face was bruised and swollen from the fall. He got up and said angrily. Boom. The demonic light that filled the sky dissipated. A mountain goat with pure white hair appeared in the void. It was over 30 kilometers tall like an ancient mountain, and there were 2 golden horns on its head that seemed capable of holding up the heavens and the earth. Its eyes were dazzling and resplendent like the sun, and they contained an ancient, dignified, and mysterious fluctuation. It was as if there was a vast chaotic void around it that could devour everything. It was extremely terrifying. It was the old goat's master, the famous monarch Tunshin of the demon realm. Greetings, monarch. After the monarch Tunshin appeared, all the demon experts below, regardless of whether they were demon deities or demon saints, bowed down. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they bowed respectfully. The monarch Tunshin might not be the strongest in the demon realm, but it was rumored that he was the oldest living old monster in the demon realm. And the only pure-blooded Taotais left in this world are you and me. With your weak cultivation, can you defeat the demon saints and demon kings of the devil world? Or the sage kings and emperors of the god world? The monarch Tunshin spoke in an old and gentle voice. I don't care. I want to avenge Ling Xiao. I want to kill them. The old goat said stubbornly. I'm afraid that even if you die, you won't be able to kill many people. You'd better enter my devouring world and hone your character. When you can fight with your own strength, I won't stop you anymore. The monarch Tunshin said slowly, then waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the void in front of him split open, revealing a mysterious world. The chaotic light rose and instantly swallowed the old goat. Monarch. Taoist Wuliang saw the monarch Tunshin's gaze on him and was shocked. He quickly cupped his hands and said, I have some ties with the Tao race, so I naturally can't watch you die. You should go with an into the devouring world to gain experience. Chapter 2374. In the Devil World. Yu Meng, looked at Dark Ling Xiao in front of her, her eyes full of anxiety. After they returned to the Devil World from the chaotic ancient land, their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. They had both reached the peak of the half-saint realm and stepped into the third heaven realm. So, they went into seclusion together to prove their Tao and become a saint. However, when Yu Meng saw that Dark Ling Xiao was about to break through, he suddenly fainted. His breath became extremely weak, and his spirit was almost completely dissipated. Yu Meng almost thought that Dark Ling Xiao had gone mad. She was extremely worried. I can't let others know about this. Yu Meng thought to herself. The Dark Devil sect wasn't as calm as it looked on the surface. Although Dark Soaring Sky's combat strength was extraordinary, there were also many talented disciples in the Dark Devil sect who were extremely jealous of Dark Soaring Sky. If they knew about Dark Soaring Sky's current state, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't have any bad thoughts. Yu Meng was now dead set on following Dark Ling Xiao, so she was thinking about him everywhere. Now, I can only go to Mother. Yu Meng thought of the current sect master of the Dark Devil sect, her mother Yuluosha. Soon, Yuluocha arrived at the place where they were cultivating in seclusion. Yu Luosha was wearing a black dress, and her figure was graceful. Under the light veil hid a body that could make people's blood boil. Every step she took, she exuded a charm that could make people's hearts sway. Ming, or why did you call me? What happened to Darkling Xiao? Yu Luosha asked, her eyes falling on Darkling Xiao. Yu Luosha was also very concerned about Darkling Xiao. After all, Darkling Xiao had the Dark Saint body. If he grew up, he would at least be a Saint King expert. He was also extremely important to the Dark Devil sect. His body is extremely powerful, and there is no damage. His life origin is vast and boundless, no worse than the life origin of a saint. But his spirit is about to completely dissipate. What's going on? Yu Luosha's eyes showed an extremely surprised look. Mother, you must save brother Darkling Xiao. Did he go mad while cultivating? Yu Manger's eyes had a trace of anxiety. Don't worry, I'll check why he fainted. Light flashed from Yu Luosha's glabella, and a stream of light immediately shot into Dark High Firmament's sea of wisdom to investigate his current situation. Rumble. In the dark sea of consciousness, his originally powerful soul actually began to disperse into streaks of light. It became weaker and weaker, as if it would collapse completely at any time. Yu Luocha actually sensed a familiar aura from the primordial spirit of darkness soaring skies. Is it him? Yu Luocha's heart stirred. Mother, how is brother Ling Xiao? Yu Menger asked worriedly. Don't worry. He was in too much of a rush to break through, so he went berserk. I will treat him personally. You should leave this place first and protect me from outside, Yu Luocha said with a faint smile. All right. Yu Menger quickly nodded. She was slightly relieved. With Yu Luocha's help, Darkness Ling Xiao's life would be saved no matter what. After Yu Menger left, Yu Luocha waved her sleeve. Suddenly, an extremely powerful barrier enveloped the secret room. I really didn't expect this. Ling Xiao, you actually hid such a big secret. I didn't expect that the chosen one Ling Xiao would have a demon doppelganger. I'm afraid no one would have thought of this. Yu Luocha stared at Dark High Firmament and sneered. She had discovered Dark High Firmament's secret. Although Dark High Firmament's aura was completely different from his original body, their primordial spirits were of the same origin. Now that Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit had collapsed, his original appearance was instantly revealed. Yu Luocha instantly recognized that the fluctuations of Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit were exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. This meant that the disciple of the Dark Demon sect in front of her was the same person as the chosen one, Ling Xiao. Originally, there were many people in this world with the same name and surname. Yu Luocha did not connect Dark High Firmament with the chosen one, but she still discovered Dark High Firmament's secret. That Ling Xiao obtained the inheritance of the Flowing Time Great Emperor, and the secret of the wordless heavenly book. Perhaps you have this part of the content in your memory? If I devour your primordial spirit, I might be able to obtain the secrets of the Flowing Time Great Emperor, and the wordless heavenly book. How can a chaos supreme treasure be so easily broken? The fragments of the wordless heavenly book must be scattered all over the world right now. If I obtain the secrets of the wordless heavenly book, I might be able to control this chaos supreme treasure. Yu Luocha stared at Dark High Firmament and said with a hint of passion in her eyes. Although she was a woman in terms of talent, wisdom, and means, she was not inferior to a man. She also had ambitions and wanted to become a peerless great emperor who dominated the world. Although Yu Luocha's cultivation was now at the Saint King realm, she did not know how long it would take for her to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm, let alone the legendary Great Emperor realm. Without great opportunities and great perseverance, one could not break through. The Flowing Time Great Emperor and the wordless heavenly book were the greatest opportunities and opportunities. Buzz. Yu Luocha's glabella shone brightly and a powerful primordial spirit instantly shot towards Dark High Firmament's glabella. Now, because Ling Xiao had detonated the wordless heavenly book, Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit was constantly collapsing. If she wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Flowing Time Great Emperor, and the secret of the wordless heavenly book from Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit, she must first stop Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit from collapsing. Rumble. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit appeared in dark high firmament's sea of consciousness, exuding a vast and unparalleled saint aura. As she chanted scriptures, runes flew towards dark high firmament's primordial spirit. Those were the purest primordial spirit energy, and merged with dark high firmament's primordial spirit like divine chains of order, sealing his primordial spirit. Dark high firmament's primordial spirit trembled. Although he was still in a deep slumber, as if he had eaten a great tonic, his primordial spirit energy began to be sealed and his aura gradually stabilized. I'd like to see what's in your primordial spirit. Yu Luocha's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. Her primordial spirit flew directly towards dark high firmament's primordial spirit, wanting to devour his primordial spirit and memories. Rumble. Just as Yu Luocha was about to completely occupy dark high firmament's sea of consciousness, dark high firmament's primordial spirit began to tremble violently. An ancient, mysterious, and vast aura rose from it. Chapter 2375. Boom. Yu Luocha's soul basically shattered in an instant, while the strand of origin demonic chi entered Yu Luocha's sea of consciousness in an unstoppable manner. Yu Luocha's body shook, and her face turned pale. In her knowledge sea, dark demonic light surged. From the endless darkness, a mysterious, dignified, and ancient figure vaguely appeared, exuding a vast emperor aura. It had an invincible aura that could dominate the heavens and earth, and sweep across the heavens and earth. It was like an extremely ancient great emperor. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit seemed to be frozen, and it instantly froze in the void, as if it was no longer under her control. Yu Luocha was a Saint King Realm super expert, and also the sect master of the Dark Demon sect. Her cultivation was unfathomable, but now she could not even think of resisting this figure. Buzz. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit instantly bloomed with bright light, and a white jade bottle appeared, exuding an extremely vast energy fluctuation, and collided with the figure in front of her. The Great Tao Bottle. This was the cornerstone treasure of the Dark Devil sect, a flawless apex emperor weapon, the Great Tao Bottle. It contained an incomparably terrifying strength. It was said that if a sovereign monarch was sucked into the Great Tao Bottle, they would instantly turn into pus. Yu Luocha felt an irresistible danger, so she did not hesitate to summon the Great Tao Bottle. The Great Tao Bottle bloomed with bright runes, and an extremely powerful suction force came from the bottle's mouth. It was like a black curtain that covered the sky, enveloping the entire knowledge sea, and wanted to swallow the figure directly. Boom. A simple palm print swept across the sky, and the Great Tao Bottle trembled violently. All the runes around it suddenly exploded, and then flew back into Yu Luocha's primordial spirit, as if they did not cause any harm to the figure at all. The figure was incomparably calm. Although Yu Luocha could not see his face clearly, she could feel from his deep eyes that he had absolute confidence in controlling everything in the universe. Swoosh. The figure took a step forward, and directly pointed at Yu Luocha's primordial spirit. Who are you? Why is it hiding in Ling Zhao's body? Yu Luocha cried out in both surprise and anger. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, and her heart was filled with extreme fear and terror. The figure in front of them was too strong. He managed to push back the Great Tao Bottle with a single slap. That supreme monarch weapon didn't seem to be able to injure him at all. Could it be that he was a true supreme monarch? However, the figure did not say anything. His finger moved as fast as it could, landing on Yu Luocha's forehead in an instant. Her body trembled violently, and her soul weakened in an instant. Whoosh. That figure took advantage of the opportunity to close in and fuse with Yu Luocha's soul in an instant. Yu Luocha saw the true appearance of the figure the moment it fused with her Yuan spirit. She immediately became extremely shocked. Ling Xiao. What she did not expect was that the peerless expert in front of her, who was suspected to be the ancient emperor, who possessed an invincible aura, was actually Ling Xiao. However, she no longer had the chance to think because the figure had completely fused with her Yuan spirit. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit instantly had a very strange feeling. Her Yuan spirit was heating up as if it was being burned by a strange emotion. Her entire body felt warm as if she was in a hot spring. That strange feeling spread throughout her body, causing her to heat up. It was as if the emotions in the deepest part of her heart had been aroused. She couldn't help but moan. Hot! Yuluosha's body trembled slightly. She couldn't help but tear her clothes apart, revealing a perfect body that could drive anyone crazy. She then walked towards Ling Xiao, who was in the darkness. At the beginning of the primordial age, chaos was like a chicken. A giant opened up the sky, dividing the clear and turbid qi, establishing the Tao of yin and yang, negative yin and embracing yang, rushing qi to achieve harmony. The scripture rang in Yuluosha's ears like a huge bell, causing her body to emit a mysterious Tao rhythm. Very quickly, Yuluosha hugged Ling Xiao, and the two bodies intertwined together. The scene was very seductive, and the air was filled with an aura that made people lose their minds. After some time, Yuluosha looked at Ling Xiao in front of her. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Ling Xiao's aura had become extremely stable. Although he still hadn't woken up, he seemed to have fallen into some kind of Tao comprehension state. His extremely weak Yuan spirit also began to gradually strengthen. Yuluosha's eyes were filled with shame, anger, murderous intent, and various other emotions. However, in the end, they only turned into a sigh. Thinking of the madness just now, Yuluosha wanted nothing more than to cut the guy in front of her into 1,000 pieces. Her absurd time with Ling Xiao had allowed her arcane yin saint body to be fully unleashed. She had saved Ling Xiao from the brink of death, and had paid an enormous amount of arcane yin origin to gradually heal Ling Xiao's injuries. Yuluosha was both embarrassed and shocked by what had just happened. She was a saint king, but Ling Xiao hadn't even broken through to the saint realm. Who was the figure in Ling Xiao's consciousness? Why did it look exactly like Ling Xiao? That figure made Yuluosha feel despair. Even her Great Way bottle didn't have any effect. Yuluosha wanted to kill Ling Xiao several times, but she couldn't do it. Part of the reason was that she was afraid of the figure in Ling Xiao's consciousness. More importantly, she suddenly felt that there seemed to be a strange feeling in her heart toward Ling Xiao. Yuluosha didn't dare to think about it anymore. She felt that if she continued to stay here, her Taoist heart might soon collapse. Whoosh! Yuluosha opened the boundary and instantly flew out of the secret chamber. She looked like she was running away. Mother, did you save brother Ling Xiao? Yu Meng-er, who had been waiting outside the secret chamber, couldn't help but ask. As soon as she saw Yuluosha appear, her eyes immediately revealed a look of great surprise. He's already recovered. Mother still has something to do, so I'll leave first. Yuluosha didn't even dare to look at Yu Meng-er. She casually found an excuse, and then directly flew away. Strange, what's wrong with Mother today? Yu Meng-er glanced curiously at Yuluosha's back. Suddenly, she remembered that Ling Xiao was fine now. She immediately put everything behind her. Her eyes revealed a look of great surprise as she flew into the secret chamber. Chapter 2376. Snow fell from the sky and the world was covered in silver, leaving only a vast expanse of whiteness. In the distance, the rolling mountains were all covered in snow. Among them, there was a huge snow mountain that pierced the sky like a divine sword, as if it was the center of this world. A woman in a red dress with a beautiful face and jade-like skin was exuding a peerless aura. She walked barefoot on the snow mountain towards the peak of the snow mountain. Her white hair fluttered in the wind, and she exuded a tired aura. She held a black compass tightly in her hand. It looked simple and mottled, with mysterious runes intertwined on it. It emitted a lustrous light as if it was pointing the way. When she reached the peak of the snow mountain, the lustrous light emitted by the black compass instantly dimmed. It seems like Brother Ling Xiao is not in the snowfall realm. The woman in red lowered her head in disappointment. She could not hide her disappointment. She was Jinsei. The snowfall realm was the 19th world she had searched, but she still could not find Ling Xiao's whereabouts. The battle between Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King was extremely tragic. In the end, Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly book to save Jinsei. Yuanlu Demon King was severely injured and died in Jinsei's hands. However, Jinsei was unwilling to believe that Ling Xiao was dead. Therefore, she was determined to search the universe to find Ling Xiao's whereabouts. After killing Yuanlu Demon King, Jinsei used the time compass to shatter his primordial spirit and found part of Yuanlu Demon King's memories. Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly book. The terrifying explosion caused a space-time tunnel to appear in the starry sky. Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King were sucked into the space-time tunnel. Fortunately, they were only attacked by the chaotic space-time. The timeline was not completely chaotic. Otherwise, Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King would have been killed. And the region where Ling Xiao had disappeared in the end was the thousands of worlds surrounding the Snowfall Realm. In addition, the time compass could still sense Ling Xiao intermittently. Therefore, Jinsei chased him all the way here. Jinsei searched more than 10 worlds, but did not find any trace of Ling Xiao. The Snowfall Realm was the 19th world. Brother Ling Xiao, wait for me. I will definitely find you. After that, light flickered around her, and she disappeared from the Snowfall Realm. Although Jinsei was already a saint, her cultivation level was not enough for her to break through the world barrier and roam the primal chaos void. However, with the help of the time compass, there were many more possibilities for her to explore the myriad worlds. Even though Jinsei would be affected every time she broke through the world barrier and would inevitably be injured, she didn't care at all. Clear Spirit Realm, Profound Origin Realm, Raging Flame Realm, Frost Realm. Jinsei traversed world after world. Under the guidance of the time compass, she wanted to find traces of Ling Xiao. The myriad worlds in the universe were as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, and there was simply no way to measure them. There were boundless worlds like the Immortal World, the Devil World, and the Demon World, and there were also mediocre worlds and minor worlds. A minor world like the Snowfall Realm didn't even have a saint, and the strongest person there was only a semi-saint realm cultivation. Just like that, Jinsei continued her search. She didn't know how long it had been, how many times she had been disappointed, but she never gave up hope. Her red clothes were like blood, and her white hair was like frost. She traversed the heavens and searched the myriad worlds just to wait for one person to return. In the end, this became an obsession in Jinsei's heart. Endless snow, endless yellow sand, majestic rain, raging flames, monstrous thunder. Jinsei had seen the sights of countless worlds. She saw the majestic mountains and rivers, the evolution and evolution of life, and the maturation and perfection of the world. This gave her many insights into the Tao. However, she still felt very lonely. Sometimes, Jinsei would think, if only Big Brother Ling Xiao could be by her side for all of this. She even suspected that she couldn't hold on any longer. It was never disappointment that defeated a person. Instead, it was endless despair and a long dark night that could not see the light. But Jinsei still persevered. Heaven Prison World. This was the world that Jinsei and the time compass had chosen once again. Heaven Prison World wasn't so much a world, but a world that was about to be destroyed. It was filled with chaos, desire, greed, cunning, and all kinds of bastards. There was no order, only endless war. Heaven Prison World was incomparably vast. It was not inferior to the greater worlds like the Celestial Realm and the Demon Realm. There were many vicious people here. It was even said that the people in Heaven Prison World were ancient gods and demons. They ate humans and drank their blood. They were cruel and bloodthirsty. There was no evil that they wouldn't do. But this time, the light shown by the time compass was brighter. This filled Jinsei with hope again. In the sky of Heaven Prison World, there was a blood-red sun that dyed the entire sky red. It was filled with killing intent. It was said that the blood-red sun in Heaven Prison World was a supreme treasure left there by a powerful person in the ancient times. But no one knew how to collect it. Over time, people stopped paying attention to this legend. However, in the past few days, the experts in the Heavenly Prison Court had discovered that the blood-red sun was blooming with dazzling light, and there was an extremely powerful fluctuation of life origin emanating from it. Many people thought that this supreme treasure was about to be born, so they were all eager and excited to get their hands on this supreme treasure. Kongsang Mountain was the place where the blood-red sun set. Now many strong cultivators had appeared in Kongsang Mountain. Each of them had an extremely powerful aura and looked extremely ferocious. Their eyes were filled with greed. They were all coveting the blood-red sun in Kongsang Mountain. However, the blood-red sun emitted a torrential flame that could burn everything. Even a saint would be burned to ashes. Therefore, although many people coveted the treasure, they couldn't get close to the blood-red sun. They could only gather in Kongsang Mountain and wait for an opportunity to act. On this day, a beautiful woman in a red dress came to Kongsang Mountain. She attracted the attention of many people in Kongsang Mountain. Most of the experts in the heavenly prison court were bastards who committed all kinds of crimes, and there were very few women, let alone a woman as beautiful as Jin Se. It was unknown how many people's eyes were filled with greed and lust. However, many people could see that this woman in red was not to be trifled with. So they just watched her coldly. The woman in red was naturally Jin Se. Her eyes fell on the blood-red sun. Her eyes were filled with excitement and anxiety. She had been disappointed too many times. She was afraid that she would be disappointed this time. The time compass in her hand shone brightly like a pearl. It was trembling slightly. All of this indicated that she was very likely to find Ling Xiao. Step by step, Jin Se walked towards the blood-red sun. She didn't care about the gazes of the strong cultivators around her. All of her attention was on the blood-red sun. Chapter 2377. Who is this woman? A noble young master wearing a purple robe and holding a folding fan said with a glint in his eyes. He was in the Saint Realm, and was the city lord of the Purple Thunder City in the heavenly prison court. He could feel a different aura from Jin Se, as if she was out of tune with the surrounding heaven and earth, which made him very curious. Who cares who she is? I think she's tired of living if she wants to take the heavenly prison blood sun. A burly man with bulging muscles and a huge axe in his hand sneered. He was the city lord of the mountain city, Giant Axe. He was also in the Saint Realm, and his 10-feet-tall body made him stand out among the crowd. Let's see. I feel that this woman is not simple. A skinny old man with a goatee said slowly, with a hint of fear in his eyes. Fellow Taoist who? Could it be that you've seen something? The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe's expression suddenly became serious as they looked at the old man with the goatee. The old man with the goatee was called Hu Feng, the city lord of the Fengshui city. He was also a powerful saint, but his strength was not in his combat strength, but because he was a Fengshui master. He could see through the heaven and earth, observe yin and yang, and even use everything in the heaven and earth to set up a Fengshui formation. He was always valued by the Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe. The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe were good friends with Hu Feng, and this time, they joined forces to investigate the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Although their strength was only average, they naturally had their own ideas about the heavenly prison blood Sunday. This woman is rejected by the heavenly prison court. I'm afraid she's not from the heavenly prison court. Furthermore, she has an item on her that can easily kill us. We must not provoke her. Hu Feng said in a low voice with a serious expression. Can easily kill us? Could it be an extreme Tao Emperor weapon? The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe looked at each other and could not help but exclaim. It's hard to say. Hu Feng shook his head and said. Everyone was discussing, and each of them looked at Jin Se with different expressions. Looking at Jin Se step by step approaching the heavenly prison blood sun. Most of them just blinked their eyes and did not do anything. After all, the heavenly prison fire emitted by the heavenly prison blood sun was too terrifying. Even saints couldn't withstand it. They were also very curious about what Jin Se wanted to do. However, the heaven prison realm was, after all, a huge prison with many lawless and ferocious chi practitioners. In the face of such a beautiful Jin Se, there were still some ignorant people who appeared. Little girl, what are you doing? The heavenly prison fire emitted by the heavenly prison blood sun is incomparably terrifying. You're such a delicate girl. If anything happens to you, we'll be heartbroken. An incomparably frivolous voice rang out, and in an instant, 3 ugly young men with the head of a snake and the eyes of a rat blocked Jin Se's path. The auras of the 3 young men were extremely powerful. They were all saints. However, their eyes were filled with greed and lust as they looked at Jin Se. It was as if they were about to spit fire. Is it them? Everyone's expression involuntarily changed. revealing a trace of a strange expression. The three Qi brothers, Qi Sun, Qi Lin, and Qi Mu. The three Qi brothers were famous bandits in the heaven prison realm. The three of them were born from the same mother, and all of them were saints. They were cruel and bloodthirsty, and their hands were stained with the blood of countless people. However, the three brothers were smarter. They would never provoke those who they could not afford to provoke. In addition, the three of them were powerful, so they could live freely in the heaven prison realm. Everyone did not expect that the three of them would target Jinsei. "Get out of my way," Jinsei said faintly. Her expression was extremely calm, and she did not even look at the three Qi brothers. "Little girl, if we don't move, what are you going to do?" Qi Sun said with a slight smile as his eyes swept across Jinsei's body unscrupulously. In addition to the three of them being lustful, more importantly, they found that Jinsei was not afraid of the heavenly prison blood sun at all. They were afraid that she had something to rely on. They were curious about Jinsei's secrets and methods. They wanted to be the first to obtain Jinsei's secrets, so they directly attacked Jinsei. They could see that Jinsei had just broken through to the saint realm, and there were still remnants of the aura of a breakthrough on her body. With the three of them joining forces, they could even fight against a supreme saint. Naturally, they were not worried about Jinsei. "If you don't move, then you can go to hell," Jinsei said faintly. Her eyes finally moved away from the heavenly prison blood sun and fell on the three Qi brothers. Jinsei's eyes were dazzling. It was as if a vast river had flown out from within, containing an unparalleled energy fluctuation. This caused the three Qi brothers to involuntarily tremble, as a look of bewilderment appeared in their eyes. Boom! Jinsei directly attacked. She stretched out her jade-like hand, and the time compass in her palm slowly bloomed like a black lotus. A mysterious light sprinkled down and intertwined with the mysterious river in Jinsei's eyes. In an instant, it was like a waterfall that wrapped around the three Qi brothers. The vast power of time bloomed, and it contained an unparalleled extreme emperor's aura. The three Qi brothers' faces changed instantly. Extreme Emperor's weapon. "You! How could you have an extreme emperor's weapon?" Qi Sun roared, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Swoosh! 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 The three Qi brothers instantly leaped up as all the hair on their bodies stood on end. They could feel an irresistible danger descending upon them. One by one, they unleashed their strongest strength and retreated backwards. However, the river of time contained the eternal power of time, and the surrounding void seemed to have solidified. The three Qi brothers' figures looked extremely slow, and there was no way for them to block the time compass. They could only watch as the time compass crashed into them. Boom! There was an explosion of blood mist in the void, and the time compass emitted a dazzling light. It was like a divine rainbow, and it directly pierced through Qi Sun, Qi Lin, and Qi Mu's chests and sent them flying. The three Qi brothers looked as if they had been struck by lightning. Their faces turned extremely pale, and they coughed out blood. Their auras became weak. "She really has an extreme emperor's weapon." The purple thunder prince and giant axe looked at each other, and there was a hint of relief in their eyes. Hu Feng did not disappoint them. They could tell that Jinsei was not to be trifled with, and that was why they suppressed their greed and did not attack her. Otherwise, they would have ended up like the three Qi brothers. Chapter 2378. Although the heavenly prison court was vast, it was just a huge prison. Not only were there countless ferocious creatures gathered here, but the heavenly Tao here was also extremely chaotic. It was like a huge whirlpool that enveloped everyone. Therefore, there had been no news of an extreme Tao monarch weapon in the heavenly prison court for many years. If someone had an extreme Tao monarch weapon, with the power of the extreme Tao monarch weapon, it was very likely that they could unify the heavenly prison court. This was not in line with the thoughts and interests of those existences. Now the balance was finally broken. The time compass in Jinsei's hand was so dazzling. As soon as it appeared, it severely injured the three Qi brothers and also dispelled the covetousness and greed in everyone's heart. Just when everyone thought that the three Qi brothers would die in Jinsei's hands, Jinsei did not continue to attack. Instead, She held the time compass in her hand and flew towards the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. In Jinsei's view, the three Qi brothers were not important at all. The heavenly prison Blood Sun was also not important. Even the entire heavenly prison court was not important. The only important thing was the news of Ling Xiao. Bus. The bright light was dazzling, enveloping Jinsei. It looked ethereal and mysterious, containing the fluctuations of time. Although the heavenly prison Blood Sun was flowing with raging heavenly prison fire, dyeing the sky red as if it could burn all life, it could not do anything to the time compass. Under the protection of the time compass, Jinsei instantly entered the heavenly prison Blood Sunday, the heavenly prison Blood Sun. This supreme treasure won't fall into the hands of this woman. Everyone looked at each other. Although they were unwilling, there was a sense of helplessness and frustration in their hearts. In the face of an extreme Dao monarch weapon, other than Saint Kings, only the legendary imperial emperors could withstand the power of an extreme Dao monarch weapon. However, it was hard to say if there were any imperial emperors in the heavenly prison court. Brother Hu, what do you think the heavenly prison Blood Sun is? Giant Axe asked curiously. Hu Feng thought for a moment and said, I think that the heavenly prison Blood Sun is not an extreme Dao monarch weapon. According to the ancient records, the heavenly prison Blood Sun is very likely to be the heart of a great emperor. What? The heart of a great emperor? The Purple Thunder young master shuddered as well. His eyes were filled with horror. This news was too shocking. The heavenly prison Blood Sun had been hanging in the heavenly prison realm for countless years. The people of the heavenly prison realm had long been used to the existence of the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. Although many people thought that the heavenly prison Blood Sun was a supreme treasure, no one had been able to obtain it. This is just my speculation, because according to the ancient books that I have read, the formation of the heavenly prison realm seems to be related to a great emperor in the ancient times. The heavenly prison fire that the heavenly prison Blood Sun emits also has some murderous aura of the living, which makes me suspicious. Of course, although I have such suspicions, I'm afraid that we have nothing to do with the heavenly prison Blood Sun. Hu Feng sighed and said helplessly, Are you saying that woman will obtain the heavenly prison Blood Sun? If I can get my hands on the heart of a great emperor, I might be able to break through to the great saint realm. Huge Axe said enviously, Look at you. If you can obtain the heart of a great emperor, you can at least directly become a saint king. Even if you touch the supreme god realm, breaking through to the imperial emperor realm is not impossible. Young Master Purple Thunder grumbled. Let's just wait and see. I have a feeling that the woman's origin is not simple. Hu Feng said noncommittally. In the heavenly prison Blood Sun, there was a distorted space. Streaks of blood intertwined, densely covering the surrounding void, containing a vast and violent energy, and filled with wisps of heavenly prison fire, which could burn everything, at the same time refining the vast energy in the surrounding void, causing the space to tremble slightly. It was a regular tremor, just like the beating of a heart. When Jinsei entered the heavenly prison Blood Sun, she instantly saw the figure floating in the void in front of her. She couldn't help but tremble, the corners of her mouth twitched, and her eyes began to turn red. It was a broken body. The whole body was covered with dense scars, like a spider web, as if it would completely shatter at any time. The filthy blood had turned black, dyeing the broken white clothes on his body black, exuding a strong smell of blood, and an indescribable tragic aura. A small half of the body was gone, and the entire body was covered in a layer of purple light. Rays of multicolored light lingered around the body, protecting it. This body was naturally Ling Xiao. The moment she saw Ling Xiao, Jinsei knew that her persistence was right. Ling Xiao wasn't dead. Ling Xiao was still alive. It wasn't a waste for her to travel through countless worlds and experience endless wind and snow to finally find Ling Xiao. The moment she saw Ling Xiao, Jinsei only felt that all her exhaustion and loneliness had completely disappeared. The great fear that constantly tormented her also dissipated. Only endless love and warmth flowed, giving her the strength to persevere. However, Ling Xiao's condition was not good at the moment. His aura was faintly discernible, and the life origin in his body seemed to have been exhausted. His life was like a candle flame in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. However, the last trace of Ling Xiao's life was protected by the purple qi flow. At the same time, streaks of bloody light gathered in the surroundings. Streaks of heavenly prison fire turned into the purest life force and slowly merged into Ling Xiao's body. The purple current was the primordial chaos purple vapor. What should I do now? Jinsei panicked, looking at Ling Xiao in front of her. She didn't know what to do. She wanted to help Ling Xiao, but didn't know what to do. However, Jinsei could vaguely sense that Ling Xiao's current condition was very mysterious. He was neither dead nor alive, almost like a living corpse. He was only hanging on by a thread of primordial chaos purple vapor. However, his injuries were too severe. They were so severe that even if the surrounding life force surged into his body, it would still dissipate very quickly. It was as if there was an enormous black hole inside Ling Xiao's body that could devour all life. This firmament blood sun is a heart? Jinsei's eyes flashed, and she trembled all over. She'd been curious as to why the heavenly prison fire could form such pure life force and enter Ling Xiao's body. However, as she observed the scene and space within the firmament blood sun, she suddenly realized that it was like a giant heart. Every time it beat, wisps of life force would enter Ling Xiao's body. Chapter 2379. Hongmeng purple qi circled around Ling Xiao's body, emitting a dazzling and translucent light. It contained a mysterious power, protecting Ling Xiao's body and preventing it from completely collapsing. Ling Xiao's current state was very strange. His body was covered with dense cracks, and there was still black demonic qi escaping from his body. At the same time, there was also chaotic great Tao law, the power of space, the power of time, and various other mysterious powers. This kind of power was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Even a Supreme Saint King would be crushed instantly if he suffered such a serious injury. It was the Hongmeng purple qi, protecting Ling Xiao's body and even his injured Yuan Shen. The heavenly blood sun was a huge heart, and it was still beating rhythmically. Every time it beat, it would spew out a majestic life force, which was absorbed by Ling Xiao's body. Is this the heart of a great emperor? Jinsei's heart was also extremely shocked. She vaguely guessed why so many saints of the heavenly prison field coveted the heavenly blood sundae. If the heavenly blood sun was really the heart of a great emperor, it would probably make the entire heavenly prison field go crazy. And now, the heavenly blood sun had become the source of Ling Xiao's life, the foundation that maintained his life. If Brother Ling Xiao can absorb all the life force in this heavenly blood sun, then he might be able to wake up completely. This efficiency is still too slow. Jinsei frowned slightly and thought to herself. She could tell that Ling Xiao wasn't taking the initiative to devour the life force of the heavenly prison blood sundae. Instead, it was because every time the heavenly prison blood sun's heart beat, the life force that escaped was integrated into Ling Xiao's body. But this efficiency was too low. The life force that Ling Xiao absorbed was just a drop in the ocean for the entire heavenly blood sundae. I have to think of a way. Jinsei was slightly anxious. She guessed that the heavenly blood sun was a great emperor's heart, and there was no reason why the saints of the heavenly prison field did not know this. Now the heavenly prison fire could barely stop those saints, but if a saint king or a legendary emperor came, the heavenly prison fire might not be able to stop them. Now, the heavenly blood sun was Ling Xiao's source of life, and Jinsei would not allow anyone to take it away. Maybe I can try using the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Jinsei's heart moved. Wang. Her glabella shone brightly. In an instant, a yin-yang taiji diagram that was interwoven with Tao and truth and exuded a vast emperor's might appeared in the void. The yin-yang taiji diagram was the Supreme Tao Palace's Supreme Tao Emperor weapon. The reason why Jinsei was able to obtain the yin-yang taiji diagram was not only because the Tao Lord of Extermination valued her highly, but also because her supreme Tao physique could form a connection with the yin-yang taiji diagram. This allowed her to refine the yin-yang taiji diagram by chance. The yin-yang taiji diagram was a supreme treasure with an extremely mysterious origin. No one even knew which great emperor it came from. However, the power of the yin-yang taiji diagram was undeniable. Legend had it that the yin-yang tai chi diagram could decompose everything, return everything to chaos, and refine everything. This was similar to Ling Zhao's seven-colored heavenly light, but it was much stronger. Jinsei was planning to use the yin-yang tai chi diagram to forcefully refine the majestic life force within the heavenly prison blood sun. Boom, boom, boom. After the yin-yang tai chi diagram appeared, the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to have sensed something. The frequency of its beating became faster. At the same time, a chaotic energy swept over like a storm, wanting to completely annihilate Jinsei. However, the yin-yang tai chi diagram was like an invisible boundary, protecting Jinsei firmly within it and refining the surrounding storm. Go! Jinsei's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Suddenly, the yin-yang tai chi diagram rose into the sky and covered the space like a curtain. The yin and yang chi intertwined, and a mysterious scene of chaos appeared. The heavenly prison blood sun began to shake violently. From Jinsei's point of view, it was as if a huge hole had been opened in the sky. Vast and majestic energy poured down like a huge wave, and was devoured by the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Then, it turned into the most original life force and integrated into Ling Zhao's body. Rumble. The life force within the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to be endless. In an instant, it was like a cloud, completely enveloping Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao was like a bottomless pit, constantly devouring the life force of the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Brother Ling Zhao, you must wake up. Jinsei whispered to herself, and her face was slightly pale. Although she had become a saint, it was still too difficult for her to control the yin-yang tai chi diagram, an extreme Tao Emperor weapon. It consumed the power of her primordial spirit. Jinsei stood under the yin-yang tai chi diagram, and her eyes instantly turned black and white. The yin and yang chi intertwined around her, blooming with dazzling light, and complementing the yin-yang tai chi diagram above her head. It was because of Jinsei's supreme Tao body that she was able to fully activate the extreme Tao Emperor weapon and steal the majestic life force of the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Boom. 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 The heavenly prison blood sun was trembling violently, like a beating heart. Every time it beat, it would release an incomparably majestic life force, but it seemed to have some sort of will of its own. Although it had not completely evolved into intelligence, it could sense the danger it was in, so it was also struggling violently. Outside the boundary around Jinsei, the storm was vast and unparalleled, as if it could annihilate everything. It was the heavenly prison blood sun's resistance, and it wanted to completely destroy the ant that was stealing its power. Even Jinsei could sense the heavenly prison blood sun's rage, fear and other emotions, which made it more difficult for her to control the yin-yang tai chi diagram to steal the life force. However, Jinsei did not even frown. She did not care what the heavenly prison blood sun was, whether it was the heart of a great emperor or some kind of treasure. Jinsei only knew that the heavenly prison blood sun was Ling Zhao's life. The yin-yang tai chi diagram devoured the heavenly prison blood sun and turned it into a majestic life force source. It was thousands of times faster than Ling Zhao's passive devouring. Jinsei could see that the black demonic aura in Ling Zhao's body began to dissipate slowly. The chaotic great Tao precepts and space-time power were also gradually wiped out. Even the terrifying cracks on Ling Zhao's body became much smaller. As the life force gushed in, streams of purple light from the primordial chaos purple vapor also flowed into Ling Zhao's mouth and nose, and even fused into his glabella. Chapter 2380. Although Jinsei didn't know what was going on in Ling Zhao's body, she could sense that the life essence in Ling Zhao's body was growing larger and larger. It was like a candle flame in the wind, gradually burning brighter and brighter. This was undoubtedly a good change. Although activating the yin-yang taijutsu was a huge burden for Jinsei, she was still very happy to see that Ling Zhao's condition was improving bit by bit. Rumble. The cracks on Ling Zhao's body became smaller and smaller, until they completely disappeared. His skin glowed and became as smooth as jade. The black chi in his body escaped, forming a layer of cuticle on the surface of his body. It was as if he was shedding his skin, exposing his skin that was as delicate as a baby's. Lightning crackled around Ling Xiao's body as the laws of the great Tao intertwined. Runes rose one after another, revealing an incomparably mysterious phenomenon. Boundless life force surged into Ling Xiao's body, and he slowly floated up. His eyes were lowered, and there was a faint smile on his face. Although his eyes were still tightly shut, it was as if he had completely come back to life. This change made Jin Se even more excited. If I can completely refine this infernal blood sun, brother Ling Xiao will definitely wake up. Jin Se whispered to herself. Although her face was pale, she couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. Phew! Jin Se exhaled softly as her gaze became even more determined. Her forehead shone with a resplendent light. Yin and Yang Qi rose from her body and intertwined with the Yin-Yang Taiji diagram in the sky, making it even more resplendent. The mysterious Yin-Yang Taiji diagram seemed to have enveloped the entire space. It broke down the infernal blood sun and turned it into boundless life energy that flowed endlessly into Ling Xiao's body. The primordial violet qi around Ling Xiao also seemed to be fusing with him in this state. Rumble. Like the first bolt of lightning at the beginning of the world, the ancient sound of thunder resounded. Violet qi rose around Ling Xiao's body, and at the same time, chaotic light exploded. Ancient worlds actually appeared around Ling Xiao like bubbles. Those worlds were born and disappeared, experiencing the process of birth and death in an extremely short period of time. Ling Xiao's body was like the source of an eternal world, undying and indestructible. That was the sound of thunder. At the same time, it was also the sound of the blood flowing in Ling Xiao's body. It was vast and mighty like a great river that flowed endlessly, containing an incomparably boundless vitality. Bang! 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 Ling Xiao's heart began to beat, producing a powerful rhythm. At the same time, the surrounding laws of heaven and earth trembled. His bones emitted a crisp sound, like jade beads falling onto a jade plate. His meridians were trembling, his marrow was boiling, and his flesh and blood were burning like flames. Jin Se discovered that Ling Xiao's body seemed to have been reborn. He had become extremely powerful, radiating with an eternal luster. She even felt like he was indestructible. Is big brother Ling Xiao about to wake up? Jin Se's heart was filled with excitement. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. She could feel that the deathly aura in Ling Xiao's body had completely dissipated, leaving behind a boundless vitality. It was vast and unfathomable like the sea. It was even more terrifying than Ling Xiao's previous state. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the void. He was like a supreme great emperor who had lived through the ages and surpassed the laws of heaven. His aura was terrifying to the extreme. Heaven and earth may decay, but he was immortal. The universe may be destroyed, but he was immortal. The Taoist rhyme that radiated from Ling Xiao's body made Jin Se incomparably fearful. She was certain that after refining the boundless vitality of the heavenly prison blood sun, and integrating it with the primordial purple vapor, Ling Xiao had obtained an unimaginable great fortune. Although the vitality of the heavenly prison blood sun had probably only consumed 10 or 20% of it. Jin Se was waiting for Ling Xiao to wake up. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body radiated an aura of extreme yang. It was vast and unparalleled, even more blazing than the sun. His body was extremely powerful, filled with a kind of yang qi. Even his flesh and blood began to burn. It was a kind of colorless flame that enveloped Ling Xiao's body. The fire burned fiercely as if it wanted to completely turn Ling Xiao into ashes. What? Jin Se's body trembled, and a trace of disbelief appeared in her eyes. She could see that the fire of life was burning. This was the sign that the fire of life had reached its peak, and was beginning to weaken. But why was there a fire of life burning on Ling Xiao's body? Why is brother Ling Xiao's primordial spirit so weak? Jin Se instantly realized that something was wrong. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, his primordial spirit looked incomparably illusory. It was like a faint shadow that could shatter at any time. Ling Xiao's body was now extremely powerful, even more terrifying than when his body was at the sage realm. However, his primordial spirit was so weak that it was even inferior to a god. It was impossible for it to control such a powerful body. This was also the reason why the fire of life was burning on Ling Xiao's body. The primordial spirit and the physical body had to complement each other. If there was a problem with either side and caused a loss of balance, terrible things would happen. But now, if the fire of life was allowed to continue burning, Ling Xiao's body that he had painstakingly recovered would not only turn to ashes, but his soul would also be completely destroyed and he would die. This was an extremely frightening situation. Yin and yang are out of balance. This is a situation that occurs when the physical body and primordial spirit lose balance. Why is Brother Ling Xiao's primordial spirit so weak? What should we do now? Jin Sei's face was filled with anxiety. Yin-yang Taiji diagram. Perhaps the diagram can balance Brother Ling Xiao's problem. Jin Sei hurriedly raised the diagram. It floated over Ling Xiao's body, wanting to refine Ling Xiao's majestic vitality and nourish his primordial spirit. However, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was too weak and could not be replenished. The speed at which his primordial spirit nourished was far slower than the rate at which the fire of life burned. The Tao of Yin and Yang. Yin and Yang are called the Tao. Yin and Yang complement each other. All living things bear Yin and embrace Yang. Jin Sei suddenly recalled the Tao and principles in the most supreme Tao scripture. Perhaps there was only one way out of Ling Xiao's current situation. Jin Sei's face instantly turned red. She looked very shy and cute, full of flirtatious charm, but her gaze became incomparably firm. Right now, there was only one way to save Ling Xiao, and that was dual cultivation. Jin Sei had the most supreme Tao body, which was the most perfect Tao body in terms of Yin and Yang. It was even more perfect than the Yin-Yang saint body. Only by using Jin Sei as a medium to guide the majestic Yang energy in Ling Xiao's body and nourish his primordial spirit would his primordial spirit be able to stop this terrifying state, even if it could not strengthen his primordial spirit to the same level as his physical body. Brother Ling Xiao, I will definitely save you, Jin Sei said softly. Her red lips were tender and beautiful, like a blooming peony. Jin Sei's cheeks were flushed red, but her gaze was resolute and serious. She slowly took off her red dress, revealing a perfect body that could drive anyone crazy. She slowly walked over to Ling Xiao. In the heavenly prison blood sun, the two bodies intertwined. Their red dresses billowed like waves, exuding the beauty of spring. Everything was frozen in time for the most beautiful moment. Chapter 2381. Outside the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Many experts of the heavenly prison realm watched Jin Sei enter the heavenly prison blood sun, but they were stopped by the heavenly prison fire. There was nothing they could do. That woman has been in the heavenly prison blood sun for several days. Have you noticed that the heavenly prison blood sun seems to have shrunk in the past few days? Could it be that the woman has completely refined the heavenly prison blood sun? Giant Axe stared at the heavenly prison blood sun and said, since Jin Sei entered the heavenly prison blood sun, everyone noticed that the heavenly prison blood sun began to flicker, and it even made a rhythmic sound like a beating heart. Every time it beat, it would spurt out an incomparably blazing heavenly prison fire, burning even more fiercely than before. Although the heavenly prison fire was incomparably turbulent, everyone could sense that the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to have shrunk, and the power fluctuations were also weaker. This situation made many people extremely worried. Thinking that Jin Sei had completely refined the heavenly prison blood Sunday, it seems that Taoist who is right. This is really a great emperor's heart. Only a great emperor's heart can have such a terrifying power fluctuation that can keep us out. Purple Thunder Young Master said with a burning gaze. Whether it is a great emperor's heart or not, I'm afraid that the heavenly prison blood sun has nothing to do with us. I wonder where that woman came from. It's really enviable. Hu Feng's eyes also showed a trace of envy. He also had some ideas about the heavenly prison blood sun, but now it seemed that there was no way. Rumble. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, the sky suddenly split open. An incomparably huge vortex appeared, spewing out endless light. Vast and terrifying energy fluctuations radiated out, causing everyone to involuntarily tremble. A huge foot fell from the sky, and from the crack in the sky, a huge figure walked out. Endless flames rose around his body, and at the same time, there were countless roars of vengeful spirits, making him look like an emperor who walked out of hell, holding up the world. It's Saint King Fentian. Hu Feng's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. Saint King Fentian? Hasn't he been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years? I heard that he went into seclusion to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm. Could it be that he has already broken through? The Purple Thunder young master's voice trembled slightly. Saint King Fentian had an illustrious reputation in the entire Heaven Prison domain. Legend has it that the Burning Heaven Saint King was originally a human from the Celestial realm. He fled to the Heavenly Prison realm because he was chased by his enemies. However, he displayed his peerless talent and became a Saint King in just 10,000 years. He established the Burning Heaven Saint City and became one of the top 10 saint cities in the Heavenly Prison realm. Saint King Fentian was extremely ferocious. None of his enemies could survive until now, but he had become one of the 10 Saint Kings of the Heaven Prison Court. His strength was terrifying. Legend had it that the Burning Heaven Saint King had begun his closed-door cultivation 10,000 years ago to break through to the Emperor realm. Gradually, many people had forgotten about his existence and even thought that he had died from chi deviation. And now, the appearance of the Burning Heaven Saint King once again reminded everyone of the fear of being dominated by him. Who dares to touch my heavenly prison blood son? A majestic and mysterious voice came out of Burning Heaven Saint King's mouth, causing the surrounding space to tremble. At this time, everyone could see the face of the Burning Heaven Saint King clearly. It was a brawny man who was over 10,000 feet tall. His muscles were knotted together, and he was filled with explosive power. His veins were bulging like coiling dragons. His face looked cold and resolute, but there was a huge scar that ran from his forehead all the way to the corner of his mouth. It was as if someone had slashed his face with a sword. His entire body was shrouded in burning flames. The flames were pure gold in color and flowed with the power of Yang. They turned into mysterious runes of law and intertwined like divine chains of order. As soon as he appeared, the godly state elites, half-saint elites, and even the saints of the Heaven Prison Court all looked insignificant like ants. He shouldn't have become an emperor yet, but there are fluctuations of a breakthrough on his body. He should have tried to break through to the emperor realm but failed. Hu Feng whispered to the Purple Thunder young master and giant axe. He was a feng shui grandmaster and was extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of law on Burning Heaven Saint King. He could see that Burning Heaven Saint King was still only a Saint King and not an emperor. It seems that Burning Heaven Saint King also came for the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. I'm afraid that the Heavenly Prison fire can't stop him. That woman is in danger. Giant Axe said slowly. The Heavenly Prison Blood Sun is destined to have nothing to do with us. The Purple Thunder young master said with a bitter smile. Burning Heaven Saint King stared at the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun with cold eyes. He seemed angry and shocked. If the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun hadn't alarmed him, he wouldn't have come out of seclusion in such a hurry. I'd like to see who dares to be so bold. Burning Heaven Saint King took a step forward. The blazing flames around his body rose, and he immediately appeared in front of the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. The Heavenly Prison Blood Sun spewed out vast heavenly prison fire. As if it had sensed the existence of Burning Heaven Saint King, it immediately spread towards him. However, the golden flames around the Burning Heaven Saint King's body were like dangerous vortexes that could assimilate everything. They completely assimilated the heavenly prison flame. Just like this, he walked towards the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun step by step. The terrifying heavenly prison fire couldn't cause any harm to him. He stared at the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun in front of him. A black jade talisman appeared in his palm. The jade talisman was also emitting a bright light at this moment, reflecting the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun in front of him. Kacha. The jade talisman flew towards the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. The brilliant light was dazzling. At the same time, the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun also began to vibrate. With an incomparably clear sound, an incomparably ancient door suddenly appeared in the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun, gushing out a bright light. Burning Heaven Saint King's figure instantly shot into the door and completely disappeared. In the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun, Jin Sei's cheeks were flushed. She looked at Ling Xiao in front of her, Her eyes filled with satisfaction and expectation. She could see that Ling Xiao's soul had reformed into a human form. Although he still looked incomparably weak, he could barely control his abnormally powerful body. His fire of life was no longer burning. Jinsei could feel that it wouldn't be long before Ling Xiao woke up again. At this moment, Jinsei saw a door appear in the distance. A figure with an unfathomable aura shot out from outside the door and appeared in front of her. Chapter 2382. Saint King Fentian stood in front of Jinsei, his eyes incomparably cold. His body was surrounded by golden flames, giving Jinsei the feeling that she was facing an eternal sun. That kind of aura was grand and terrifying, unfathomable. Saint King. Jinsei's eyes flashed as she said slowly. Although she didn't show it on the surface, she was already extremely vigilant in her heart. The Tai Chi diagram and time compass were trembling in her body, about to break out at any time. It was you who stole my heavenly prison blood, son? You really don't know what's good for you. You actually have the legendary Supreme Dao body. Saint King Fentian sneered, his voice exploding in the void like thunder. But when his gaze fell on Jinsei's body, he couldn't help but tremble slightly. He saw the yin and yang qi flowing on Jinsei's body. That kind of perfect balance was impossible for anyone to achieve. It instantly reminded him of the legendary most supreme Tao body. A trace of greed and passion flashed in Saint King Fentian's eyes. Jinsei frowned slightly. Saint King Fentian's gaze made her very uncomfortable. She said lightly, "Your heavenly prison blood, son? This heavenly prison blood, son, has existed in the heavenly prison realm for countless years. What does it have to do with you?" Haha. How stupid. In the entire heavenly prison realm, only I can enter the heavenly prison blood Sunday. I have been waiting for the heavenly prison blood sun to mature, but I didn't expect that you two ants would be one step ahead of me. I think you are using the heavenly prison blood sun to heal this kid, right? Wait until I kill this kid. Let's see what else you have to say. The burning heaven Saint King laughed loudly, his eyes full of mockery. His eyes were very sharp, and almost instantly saw through Ling Xiao's situation. He saw that Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong, but his primordial spirit was very weak, so he was still unconscious until now. Rumble. As soon as Saint King Fentian's voice fell, a sudden change occurred. The heavenly prison blood sun began to tremble slightly. Streaks of blood-red light filled the air, spewing out blazing rays of light. It was as if the sky was about to be completely set ablaze. The blood-red flames were flowing all around, and the void was filled with a kind of destructive aura. Ling Xiao floated in the void as streams of mysterious purple light flowed around him. At the same time, 12 ancient worlds appeared, spewing out endless multicolored light. At the same time, they gave off an extremely terrifying devouring power. Crack! The vast infernal blood sun started to crack under the influence of the purple light. Then, as if the world was about to shatter, it turned into a vast life force that surged into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao and the 12 worlds behind him exploded at the same time. That terrifying power caused the burning heaven Saint King's expression to change greatly. "You're courting death." The burning heaven Saint King instantly became furious, and his eyes revealed a monstrous killing intent. The heavenly prison blood sun was extremely important to him. He was already furious that Ling Xiao and Jinsei had stolen part of the heavenly prison blood sun's power. Now that Ling Xiao wanted to destroy the entire heavenly prison blood sun, he couldn't take it anymore. Rumble. The burning heaven Saint King instantly made his move in a fit of rage. Golden flames rose from his body and instantly turned into a golden palm print. It was like an immortal divine mountain, as it flew across the sky to suppress Ling Xiao. Jinsei could feel that the power in the burning heaven Saint King's body was like a volcanic eruption. It was vast and endless, and the world around him seemed to be completely annihilated. This was the power of a Saint King. Jinsei could even feel that the burning heaven Saint King had reached an extremely terrifying realm, even in the Saint King realm. Whoosh! Jinsei stretched out her slender hand, and the time compass silently appeared in her palm. Then it spun in the air and turned into an ancient compass. It seemed to be able to turn the heavens, and instantly appeared above the burning heaven Saint King's head. The mighty power of time descended. It was like a long river of time was flowing, forming a chaotic time domain. It made the burning heaven Saint King's body feel sluggish. Freeze! Jinsei scolded softly. In an instant, the chaotic time domain seemed to be condensed into one. At the same time, it suppressed the burning heaven Saint King's body as if it was frozen. It was terrifying to the extreme. Yin-Yang Dragon Kill. When Jinsei took out the time compass, she also took out the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. The Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram floated in the sky. It was pure black and white, intertwined with Tao and truth, and emitted an eternal fluctuation. In an instant, the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram flew towards the burning heaven Saint King. Yin and Yang Chi intertwined in the void, and instantly turned into two incomparably mysterious and ancient giant dragons, one black and one white. They intertwined and attacked the burning heaven Saint King. This was Jinsei's killing move. She used the time compass to imprison the burning heaven Saint King, and then used the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram to perform the Yin-Yang Dragon Kill. Jinsei didn't expect to be able to kill the burning heaven Saint King in one strike. As long as she could severely injure the burning heaven Saint King, it would be enough to give her enough time to take Ling Xiao away. Damn it! Why do you have two extreme Tao Emperor weapons? Who are you? Break for me. The burning heaven Saint King's face was filled with shock and anger. Terrifying golden flames flowed around his body, and instantly turned into an incomparably terrifying energy that exploded. Previously, he was still surprised about how Jinsei and Ling Xiao entered the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. However, he didn't expect Jinsei to have the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, these two extreme Tao Emperor weapons. Although the burning heaven Saint King's strength was incomparably terrifying, the two extreme Tao Emperor weapons attacking at the same time made him feel a strong sense of danger. Instantly, an incomparably terrifying energy fluctuation exploded, and the surrounding time energy that was binding him shattered one by one. Burning heaven flames. The burning heaven Saint King roared. The golden flames around his body instantly rushed towards the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. It was like a vast sea of fire, and instantly formed all kinds of mysterious scenes, as if it was an incomparably real world. The burning heaven flames was the burning heaven Saint King's origin flame. It contained his Saint King Great Tao, and could burn the heavens and destroy the earth. It was incomparably terrifying. The burning heaven Saint King also felt the threat of the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, so he didn't hesitate to take out the burning heaven flames. Crack! The endless flames and the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram instantly collided. The two huge dragons, one black and one white, intertwined with each other, and could actually disintegrate everything. They quickly disintegrated the burning heaven flames, and then turned it into a part of themselves. It was as if the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram had directly swallowed the burning heaven flames, and then crashed into the burning heaven Saint King's body with a loud bang. Chapter 2383. Although Saint King Fentian's combat strength was terrifying, the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram were both extreme Tao Emperor weapons. After being activated by Jinsei, a powerful extreme Tao Emperor aura burst out, making it difficult for Saint King Fentian to resist. Kacha! An incomparably crisp sound rang out. Saint King Burning Heaven's chest directly caved in. Yin-Yang Dragon Kill pierced through his chest, and directly two huge bloody holes appeared, causing Saint King Burning Heaven's entire body to fly out horizontally, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. Jinsei's face was pale. Activating the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram at the same time was quite a burden for her. However, there was no joy on Jinsei's face. Instead, her gaze was solemn. She saw that although the Yin-Yang Dragon Kill pierced through Saint King Fentian's chest, it did not cause much damage to Saint King Fentian. Rumble! Within Burning Heaven Saint King's body, a thunderous roar resounded. His flesh and blood glowed, and golden flames overflowed from within, dissolving the extreme power attached to his flesh and blood. Then the huge bloody hole in his chest began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Very good. You have thoroughly angered me. These two extreme Tao Emperor weapons will change owners today. Saint King Funtion's expression was extremely cold. His eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. He could already see that the heavenly prison blood sun had entered the process of collapsing. It was being completely devoured and refined by Ling Xiao. The vast life force was like a cocoon that completely enveloped Ling Xiao. Since the heavenly prison blood sun could not be salvaged, Saint King Funtion's heart was torn apart. However, he was an ambitious person. He immediately stared at Jinsei's two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. If he could obtain these two extreme Dao Emperor weapons, he would be able to dominate the entire heavenly prison world even without the heavenly prison blood Sunday. At that time, he would return to the divine world with the might of a world. He would make those who humiliated him pay 10 times, 100 times the price. You can try. Jinsei held the time compass and the yin-yang tai chi diagram floating above her head. She stood in front of Ling Xiao and stared at Saint King Funtion without backing down. Rumble. At this moment, the entire heavenly prison blood sun completely collapsed. The vast energy and endless vitality were all devoured by Ling Xiao and the 12 worlds behind him. The figures of Jinsei, Ling Xiao, and Saint King Skyburn were completely exposed in front of everyone. The heavenly prison blood sun exploded? The sudden change in the heavenly prison blood sun startled everyone. They watched as Burning Heaven Saint King entered the heavenly prison blood Sunday. They thought that the heavenly prison blood sun would fall into Burning Heaven Saint King's hands, but they didn't expect the heavenly prison blood sun to explode just like that. The confrontation between Jinsei and Burning Heaven Saint King also attracted everyone's attention. Looks like that woman and Burning Heaven Saint King have completely opposed each other. Do you think that woman will be a match for Burning Heaven Saint King? Someone discussed in a low voice. Look, that woman, she actually has two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Everyone's body trembled as they saw the time compass in Jinsei's hand and the yin-yang tai chi diagram above her head. These two extreme Dao Emperor weapons were emitting vast extreme Dao Emperor aura. I'm afraid the result of this battle is hard to say. The same thought flashed in everyone's mind. Extreme Dao Emperor weapons were the weapons of great emperors, supreme treasures that contained vast extreme Dao Emperor aura. Although Jinsei was only a saint, with two extreme Dao Emperor weapons in her hand, she could even fight Burning Heaven Saint King. Everyone felt that the result of this battle was full of suspense. Do you see that? There's a man in the cocoon behind that woman. His aura is flickering. I think that woman must have wanted to obtain the heavenly prison blood sun to save that man. But she didn't expect to offend Burning Heaven Saint King. Hu Feng's eyes flashed, and he whispered to the Purple Thunder young master and huge axe. For a man, she didn't hesitate to offend Burning Heaven Saint King and expose her two extreme Dao Emperor weapons? What an amazing woman. She's really worthy of respect. Purple Thunder young master sighed and said with a trace of respect in his eyes, I don't think that woman will win. After all, her cultivation is still too weak. As time passes, she won't be able to use the extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Brothers, I think this is a good opportunity. When both of them are injured, we might be able to obtain an extreme Dao Emperor weapon if we take action. Giant Axe said eagerly. His eyes were filled with excitement. That's feasible. Hu Feng and Purple Thunder young master looked at each other and felt a rush of excitement. If they could obtain an extreme Dao Monarch weapon, their battle prowess would instantly soar. Most importantly, the extreme Dao Monarch weapons usually contain the supreme inheritance of a great emperor. That was the thing that drove everyone crazy. It would lead them straight to the supreme divine realm. In their opinion, Jinsei might really end up with Burning Heaven Saint King being injured. Swoosh. Just as everyone was discussing, Burning Heaven Saint King made his move instantly. His speed was extremely fast. He was like a bolt of golden lightning as he flew towards Jinsei, leaving a series of afterimages in the void. Rumble. The time compass instantly smashed towards Saint King Burning Heaven, causing his body to explode and turn into golden flames. Jinsei's eyes flashed. She discovered that the time compass had only destroyed one of Saint King Burning Heaven's flame avatars. Saint King Burning Heaven's figure was like a ghost, leaving behind countless afterimages in the void. For a moment, she couldn't tell which was real and which was fake. Jinsei's heart slowly sank. The situation that she didn't want to encounter the most had happened. Burning Heaven Saint King had indeed discovered Jinsei's weakness. He started to surround Jinsei and didn't use his full strength. He even used his fire clones to attack. However, Jinsei had no choice but to use her full strength to deal with him. She constantly activated the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and the time compass. It was clear what Burning Heaven Saint King was planning. He wanted to exhaust Jinsei's strength. He was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to strike. After all, Jinsei's cultivation was only at the Sage realm. There was a difference of 2 realms between her and Burning Heaven Saint King. Using an extreme Dao Emperor weapon at full strength was also extremely exhausting for Jinsei. It was like a child holding a large sword. There would be a time when she would be exhausted. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Just like that, Burning Heaven Saint King kept attacking Jinsei. However, he couldn't find any trace of her at all. His speed was extremely fast. A vast sea of fire appeared in the void. Burning Heaven Saint King's fire clones kept attacking Jinsei. Jinsei seemed to have entered a state of exhaustion. No. If this continues, I'll definitely lose. I have to think of a way to bring Big Brother Ling Xiao out of here. Jinsei thought to herself. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.